the Dent Slayer, Matt Boyette. Thank you so much for being here.
She's smooth, boy. She's smooth. All right, so I cannot remember how long ago this was. So I'm telling this story cold. Nobody knows about this story yet. So me and Matt are still working for Dent Wizard, and I was the primary guy at the rental car companies. But when the rentals got busy, then like sometimes all the guys in town would come out and help us or help me because it would just be super busy. And so one day, everybody's out there. We're all working, and back then I was a big sunscreen guy. I was always wearing my sunscreen, not trying to get burned. Okay, so
he would bathe in it, bro. White.
I wouldn't bathe. Okay,
he'd have a white glisten to his.
Not really, but I was I was pretty disciplined in wearing it. Right? You don't know.
Kevin,
me too.
You're
Yeah. So I put it on probably around noon or whatever, and it just felt a little weird. But, whatever. Maybe it was just too hot and I just had too much sweat on me already, but I don't know. I felt a little bit weird. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I was changing up my sunscreens or whatever. So everybody was there. It was cool, We had a good, fun couple days or whatever. Probably about a week later, Matt was there. Matt asked me, "Hey man, how have you been lately?" I'm like, "Fine." He's like, "Have you been getting sunburned or anything?" And I'm like, "I don't think so." So then I'll let you finish the story.
So I think it was more like a month. You're being gracious to yourself. I think it was about a month.
Okay.
And what I did was, when he wasn't looking, I dumped out all his compound. I dumped out all his sunscreen and filled it with rubbing compound. So for a month, he had been applying rubbing compounds.
Was it abrasive?
Over his whole body. Could have been polish. But his whole body. So he didn't know.
My sweat was beating a little bit.
That's nice.
But I think it worked to a certain extent, provided some kind of sun protection, but I'll probably have cancer
Exfoliation.
very soon in life.
Properties. No. I think I was like, so when did you find out? About what? About the compound. He's like, what are you talking about? I swapped out compound with your sunblock. No. And he doesn't get mad. I mean, he very rarely gets mad, but I think he got pretty mad.
I was mad.
He was red.
He crossed the line, bro.
Sunscreen.
He crossed the line.
Obviously, he was passionate about a sunscreen, so he just went a month.
And he just stepped right,
no
over,
UV
right over
protection.
that line.
What did your dermatologist say?
I never told him. I'm too embarrassed.
Did he offer you some wax or something?
The sweat just beat it off, bro. Like it just rolled right off.
I just,
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, but
Did it have any ceramic in there? Maybe.
A little bit. But I was, I got hazed a little bit. So it was all in good fun. I was so mad, but man, it turned out to be a really good story.
It's a good story.
Yeah. Okay, so today, episode 3 of the Dent Slayer Podcast. Today is our first episode with a guest. All right, so today's
Super
guest.
excited about this one.
Yeah. Today's guest has been in the PDR industry since 1994. He's the owner of Ding Inc. in Tampa, the husband to Carrie, father of 3, and the official ambassador to the Mobile Tech Expo, and an official ambassador to Dent Craft Tools.
Oh, yeah.
And I would add the also official mayor of the PDR industry, Kevin Byrd. Welcome to the Dent Slayer Podcast.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate the invite, first of all, but I appreciate your friendships, and it's always nice.
Well,
So
thank you for driving. I mean, I know that was,
perfect.
4-hour drive-ish?
Thank you guys for putting me up at the Casa Monte. You had to laugh at that. What?
Well, hopefully this, shows to be worth it for you driving up. I mean, we wanted to build something that guests felt value to come be a part of, and obviously you did. So thank you for being
Yeah.
the first one. And you got to sign before
Happy
you
to be
leave.
here.
Don't forget to sign the board there.
absolutely.
Yeah, we got to do that before you leave. We're making all of our guests sign in on a canvas we're going to keep, and that way all the future guests that come can reference that.
I
so.
think we're going to have a trend for the future guests. You guys, I don't know if you remember, I mean, I brought stuff.
You
I
brought
brought
us
gifts.
gifts.
Brought us
I
gifts.
brought
Okay.
gifts. Would you please open them?
Let's bust them out.
Let's get 'em.
To see this.
Okay, so we have not opened these gifts yet. So we have some boxes
Oh yeah.
A little nervous
There you
about
go.
what they could be.
taped up. I found this knife in Matt's shop. You can open these together.
Let's see.
I'm just cutting this open.
you like
Matt's
it.
cutting his open. Hopefully I don't hurt myself here.
You never know
All right.
coming from Kevin here.
There's some styrofoam involved. Let's see.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh. Yeah, I like this.
Okay. Wow.
Oh,
Several layers.
it's a feather.
Native
Oh,
American.
we need a knife again.
Got us some
What do we have here, Matt?
swag for the show.
Little
For-
steampunk,
for the,
man. Come on.
There we go.
Oh, mine's a little different. Dude,
Okay.
look at this thing.
So you must have been.
I thought you guys would enjoy this.
I did. Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you.
What do you think?
They're on theme.
I like it.
Wow. So
There we go.
I'll describe mine. We have a skull, and then it's in medieval armor, a helmet with some chainmail around it. I mean, I've never seen anything quite like this.
Me neither.
This is pretty cool.
I'm glad you like it.
I got a little
Matt, what do you have?
little steampunk skull with some goggles and some gears and a top hat and some kind of feather.
Dude,
Stick
That
on
one-
his hat.
ears, Matt?
That one spoke to me,
Point it-
Matt.
This one spoke to you. What did it say?
I belong to Matt.
Oh my goodness. Dang. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Here, set these back here.
I'm not sure if these guys were friends in a different life, but they
Wow.
look pretty cool.
They look like brothers. They're
I think
probably
so.
related.
Yeah.
We're going to have to name them, I guess. Dude, thank you, Kevin.
Yes. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Wow.
Appreciate it.
So
Yeah.
you've started a tradition.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone else that comes on, please don't come empty-handed.
Bring a gift.
And you might want to eat before you get here. 'Cause I was very hungry.
We have a Publix
Yeah.
very close.
I had to do a Publix run.
So
Chicken fingers.
Kevin said he required fried chicken fingers
In the
if he
green
was going
room.
to participate in this.
In the green room, they fed me. It was kind of nice.
And you,
So
you can't go wrong with Publix.
no.
They got Publix by you?
Yeah, of course. George Jenkins, Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
Big, huge.
So in this one, I just noticed it at this Publix, but you know where they have the portraits of all the management, and then they got George. I didn't look at the guy's name,
Yeah.
but it was an old portrait of a man, and I thought, oh, Publix is a cult because it looked cult-like, but
Very similar.
I'm a member, proud member of the
Me
Publix
too.
cult.
If you get a pub sub from Publix, you're automatically addicted. First of all,
Yeah.
and then next thing that you know, what happens is you're buying boats and
Do
you're wearing sunscreen.
Do you have the pub sub holder? Have you seen this?
I saw that.
The-
You saw
It is
that.
crazy.
You don't have one yet?
I don't have one.
It looks like a tumbler or something?
Yeah.
Like that?
Yes.
Like a,
And
yeah.
it
is.
fits a pub sub.
Pub sub, yeah.
No other sub is supposed to go in that thing.
To fit in the cooler, Carrie actually cuts it in half and bags each half, and then
Ooh.
that's your half in the beginning. And then if you start getting a little loopy,
Yeah.
then here's another half. You know, that's
Yeah.
she's got it kind of dialed in.
Okay.
So
So I just saw a video on the internet where this guy's giving. He said, "Okay, this is how you get asked back on the boat," and he had some rules. Do you have any personal rules to where
I do.
you do these things, you might get asked back on the boat, but if you don't do these things, you're never getting another invite.
Anyone that asks me, "Hey man, let's get together and go on your boat," I'm like, man, I'm sorry.
I'm busy that day.
We have church, and they're like, "Well, when you're done," I'm like, "Well, church is all day on Sunday," and they're like, they leave and they think about it, and I hear them go, "Man, I didn't know Kevin was that religious. That's pretty cool." And then when they learn that the boat's name is Church, they lose their marbles. They're like, what?
Is that really the name of your boat?
Yeah. The big boat's name is Church.
I didn't know that.
You didn't catch on to that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
I'm slow.
But
You're slow.
I'm not saying. I mean, the boat's it's great. I mean, you want some salvation, you go on that boat, you'll figure it out.
You'll find it?
Yeah, you'll
Okay.
you'll definitely.
So speaking of that, where are you
you'll
from?
repent.
I mean, tell us a little bit of that. Where do you live?
I live in Tampa. Bought a little house on the water to flip back in '99, and it must be the slowest flip ever because we're still there, and I love it.
Wow.
I used to have a Mastercraft ski boat, and I would ski this one channel, and it was amazing skiing. And then I realized, I'm like, wait, I can go to a restaurant on salt water? Because I was looking at lakes, and all the lakes were down. We had a drought that summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up buying this house to flip. And then when I realized I have so many more options living on salt water versus a lake, kind of worked out, and we're still there.
It's this whole other set of roads.
Yeah, accessibility to the Gulf of Mexico and to the ocean is pretty nice.
Matt, you have some styrofoam on your arm
I would say
from the skull.
I would say the most benefit for you would probably be to restaurants or bars that you can pull the boat up to, right? I mean, that's
It's nice.
That's where you find your.
We have manatees and dolphins daily. If you ever said, "Hey man, I want to see some manatees in the bay," I'm like, "No problem. Come on to church. We'll take you out there." And then if you see a manatee on the way out, I'm like, "Did everybody see it?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Great." I'm like, "That's $39.95 a person." And then we got a little further, and I'll tap the back of the transom, and dolphins just come like, they're surfing the waves, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen." I'm like, "Did everybody see it?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, $59.95 a person.
Worth it. Worth it.
Sounds like it.
And you pay it.
Yeah.
But then I don't make you pay. Just don't do anything stupid, and you'll be invited back.
So what the rules were? Just
no
don't do
shoes on
anything-
the boat.
No shoes. Okay.
There's no need to get up and try to catch a dock or, I'll drive the boat. I'll captain
just
it.
relax.
Yeah, just enjoy
Okay.
yourself.
So no shoes. Relax.
Bring your own towel
BYOT.
and take your own towel. Bring your own drinks. Take your whatever your garbage is. And I don't even care if people help me clean up. That's not the big issue.
Okay.
I'm going to clean the boat no matter what. So
What about bananas? Any bananas on the boat?
I really don't care for bananas on the boat.
Yeah.
But I also don't fish on my own boat.
Will you get angry with people if they bring bananas?
Nah, I don't get angry.
Yeah.
You ever see me angry?
No.
We don't want to.
Yeah, I don't. No one
Not
wants
with
to
that big ring on your finger.
Did you see that? Did you see that? Specifically for this show.
Hey, well, thanks. Just for the occasion.
A
Represent.
substantial skull ring
Yeah.
that he just bought in downtown St. Augustine from a gift shop.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just
At least 4.
We have to cut through there, coming back and forth from some of our accounts, and you got to avoid. It's such it gets so congested right there. I mean, it's just a tourist trap.
Yeah.
Everybody going to downtown St. Augustine, and if you're trying to run down to do a 2-year account, man, you'll be sitting in traffic for an hour just trying to get right there at King Street. It gets crazy.
It is definitely a tourist trap.
Yeah. So you're from Tampa? You lived in Tampa
Originally
since?
from the Washington, D.C. area, where I'm from. Born and raised, and at 18, I decided it's time for me to go. Because where I'm from really isn't, I don't want to say it's not safe, but it's not safe.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not when you want to raise a family.
Yeah.
It's so I got out. And
So before you jump to Tampa, tell us I want to hear about this. So what was it like growing up? Like, tell us about it not being safe.
It was really good, actually.
Okay.
I was born in Arlington, and my grandparents had a nice house off of Braddock Road in Northern Virginia, Annandale. My mom was raised there. My uncle.
Military or
No,
government.
I mean, my grandfather fought in World War II, but he I don't know if he fought. I think he probably was there.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to take that like he didn't do anything, but when
He participated.
Yes,
he did his duty.
He did.
Whatever
Yes, he
they
did.
asked him, he did it.
He did it. Yeah.
You can't really choose a lot of times.
No.
Yeah.
And anyway, raised his family there. And when my mom married my dad, and they bought a house out in Prince George's County, Maryland, in 1971, and I was a year old. So I lived in Alexandria, Annandale, and then grew up in PG County, which I'm not bragging, but when I tell people like it's the safest county in all the world, they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "No, not at all."
So did you see some crazy things growing up?
I
or
did.
what?
I saw a guy
Okay.
die in front of me.
What?
Got stabbed to death at a party. Yeah.
Whoa.
I saw guns getting pulled. I'm like, man, this is it. And that was the 80s.
Yeah.
The 70s were great. You know, we're young. We're outside. You were outside. Obviously, we didn't have phones. You went outside. You played. You had motorcycles.
So describe
bicycles.
us like you're 12 years old. What are you doing? It's Saturday.
Well, in the summer, my grandparents had a place on the water, so I was always on the water. Used to water ski 6 times a day. We had a sailboat they had a Hobie, so if it was windy, I would sail. We'd canoe. But I was a skier.
You started your tan.
Yeah.
You know,
Tan journey.
luckily I am a part American Indian,
Ooh.
and that kind of helps. But
Okay. Yeah.
but just so everyone knows, I mean, I do use proper tanning techniques, and I'm gonna
Do they
come out with my
involve
own
a bed?
sunscreen.
Do they involve a bed? A tanning bed?
You know what? Everyone in Florida needs to go to the dermatologist.
Oh,
Everyone
man.
says, you got to go.
I mean, I
So.
get them pop up all the time all over my. I got
gotta
a new,
go.
I got a new one that I got to get checked
Yeah.
out.
Always go.
I went to the dermatologist because I had this spot on my leg that I thought was a spider bite. Ended up
Really?
being a fungus,
Oh,
like a ringworm or whatever. Yeah, they said I must have got it from the gym. But that was embarrassing.
that's kind of embarrassing.
But I asked them to give me the old look over
Yeah,
for skin cancer, and I checked out.
me too. He usually releases me often.
Yeah.
I've had some stuff cut off, but it's a lot of age spots now.
Yeah, I get them in
Did
my
you say
scalp.
AIDS spots?
Age.
Oh, age spots. Yeah.
Age. I'm getting older.
I get them in my scalp. I get them on my arms and my tops of my ears.
Yeah.
And,
You get them cut off?
no, I just
No.
pick them off myself.
Oh.
I mean, they're just superficial little things, but yeah.
Is that proper? Is he supposed to be doing that?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And you can. You know?
Just dig them out in my pocket knife.
What my tribe used to do is they would like the
What tribe is this?
tribe. Well, I'm Cherokee,
Oh,
so they would groom each other. So they would look you over, and like the apes and the chimpanzees. I don't know if you saw that chimpanzee documentary, but much like that.
about the women, the HBO special about the women with the chimps.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
It was
They're
the
like
one in
they really
Africa.
love the. They'd have them as pets. There's this series. I think it's HBO. I just heard about it
We had
on the briefing
we never
with
had
Al
it.
Mohler.
Never had a chimp.
You never did?
But if I did, I'm pretty sure I would name him Lancelot Link,
Mm.
Secret Chimp, because that was a good one. You guys know what I'm talking about?
No,
No idea.
no clue.
Okay.
Lancelot Link.
Link, Secret Chimp. That was his show.
That was a show.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
Your age is showing, buddy.
we're not in their 70s yet.
All
buddy.
right. So let's go back to 12 years old. I would water ski every
you're-
day in the
yep,
summer,
yep.
and it was fantastic.
Yep.
And then it would get cold, and then I realized probably at the age of 12 that I would not live in Maryland the rest of my life.
Okay.
That I wanted to live in Florida.
You wanted that warm water.
I wanted to water ski competitively and year round, and I did.
Really?
You water ski competitively.
I did
Okay.
What like?
for University of South Florida.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that how you got down to Florida?
it is.
Was going to college?
I went to college and skied competitive and played.
Did
rugby.
they recruit you, or like you? You
let's
walked on?
the first day out.
Swam on.
Swam on. The first day out, I skied the slalom course, and they were just like, "Yeah, you're definitely are definitely on the team."
So the slalom is that?
Slalom is my.
What
was
other
my
events
forte.
are there?
Trick
Tricks.
skis,
Okay.
and
Is
and,
the-
and jump.
Is the
Jump
slalom
jumps for distance.
with a single ski?
Yeah,
Yeah.
jump, and you would slalom through a course, 6 buoys
Wow.
at 36 miles an hour, and they would continue to take line lengths out, and the person who obviously
Okay.
did it at the shortest line distance
Wow.
would be the winner. So
That's cool. Did you ever do the jumps?
I did. Matter of fact, first tournament I ever did was in Groveland, Florida, at Jack Travers Lakes, and it was one of my first tournaments. I was not. We didn't have a jump, but the jumps
train
were all,
on.
They were no. I never drained. And these guys like, all you got to do is hit that ramp right there and go over and land. And I'm
That's
like,
it.
Oh, okay, sounds great.
Sounds easy.
So I never jumped before. The first time was in a tournament.
No.
I hit the ramp. I fall back, hit my head. And
On
I
the
land,
ramp?
I land in and I land in the water. And as I'm in the
Oh,
water,
no.
now listen, I've taken millions of falls.
Yeah.
Because the other thing that I love to do is barefoot water ski. So I've fallen, I've eaten a lot of water, and I hit the water and I'm underwater. I'm like, damn, that hurt, And I get out. I'm like, how am I gonna pull this off? And I get out and everyone's looking in there. I'm like, I'm okay. And they're clapping for me. Like, so then they're like, hey, that's the guy that wrecked on. So they knew who I was. That's the guy. He might not be that great. He didn't win, but he wrecked on the ramp pretty
He's a
good.
tough guy.
That was when you started to get famous.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, for falling,
Okay.
which,
So you compete with other schools, other
we did.
colleges?
Yeah. We competed against University of Central Florida. They were really good. Rollins College back then was amazing. State of Florida mainly. But all these schools had water ski teams. So
Did you ever sign up for any of the Disney, like what is that? Where they would stack up on
Cypress
shoulder?
Gardens.
Yeah, that stuff. Where they
So my dream was to ski at Cypress Gardens.
Wow.
I really wanted to. And
So what? For those who don't know, what is Cypress Gardens?
Cypress Gardens is one of the most amazing. It was a botanical gardens back in the 50s. Elvis skied there. You've seen it on TV, but they're famous for their ski show. And everyone who skied back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, they were like, oh my God, Cypress Gardens, I want to go to Cypress. And you would go to the ski show, and it was just, they're the best in the world. I mean, what they did, they're show skiers. They barefoot, they jump, they do flips.
This was the
acrobatics.
first theme park in Florida, right? Cypress Gardens.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Busch Gardens was in the 50s, believe it or not. Was when they, I'll tell you how I know that, but we'll skip that. But Cypress Gardens is very old, and they're known for their water ski show. And so I'm skiing for USF. A friend of mine started skiing at Cypress Gardens, and he's like, hey, man, you should come over and put on, do what you do.
He made it.
I'm like, okay. And I go over there, and I'm talking to the new guy who is, he's like, he leads the show, and he directs the stunt show and the ski show. And I realized how much they get paid. And I put myself through college. I was already working at the Hyatt. And I'm like, how much?
It wasn't that much.
It's not. There's like no money. I'm like,
Wow.
how far is that from Tampa? Hour? And I make no money. I'm going to stay in Tampa and ski every morning. And I worked at a ski school. And then I worked at the Hyatt in the afternoon.
You an instructor?
I was, and I was a driver.
The boat driver.
Yeah, I was a boat driver, instructor. We had a beginner.
Is that job hiring?
I wish they were,
Dang.
but they closed down several years ago.
Okay.
But if you want to learn to ski, I will teach you.
Okay.
But anyway, there was no money. But the guy who I originally talked to, he and I are still friends. Matter of fact, I fixed his truck not long ago. We're still buddies to this day.
Wow.
Wow.
So-
What's he doing now?
He runs the show. It's now Legoland.
Wow.
But he
still
runs the
works
show,
there.
and he's an amazing
No
skier.
way.
Amazing. Yeah.
So they still do ski shows at Legoland?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
The stunt show is
Wow.
insane.
That's so cool.
But now there's wakeboarding and wake skating and foil
Yeah.
riding, and you still see good barefooters. But the jumpers, they've evolved into something like that's. In my head, I'm like, I don't know if that's really that safe. I kind of want to take myself out
They
of the
still
equation.
do the formations, where they
Yeah.
used to get what?
Pyramid.
Yeah, the pyramid.
They sure
I don't
do.
know what you
Yeah.
call it.
Pyramid.
Yeah, where they get like 4 or 5.
I just assumed
Stories
that
tall.
went away. Did you ever go to Cypress Gardens as a kid?
No,
I never went
no.
there. I heard about it, but I never.
Do you want to go? I can probably get us in.
Really?
I
You know a guy.
I do know a guy.
If we can get behind the scenes,
I can make that happen.
Yeah.
that guy might be a good podcast guest.
He would be
Probably's
excellent.
got some stories.
He would be.
He doesn't have any money, but he's lived
You
a
know.
colorful life.
He is such a good dude too. And the people that ski under him, they're all great.
Yeah.
It's a small community, and I stay in contact with a bunch, but I'll still every once in a while throw a video and do something stupid, and they all either laugh or they're hey, good job.
So at some point you decide skiing isn't for you, and you get into PDR.
Kind of funny how that worked out, but I had no intention of doing PDR, like zero.
Yeah.
Just so happens that how it worked out, a friend of mine who used to work with my dad at a dealership, I've known him since I think I was probably 12, and he had moved. He's from Maine. He lives in Maryland. Still got a great shop, great reputation. I met him, and he had a boat, and he would say, hey, why don't you come with us on the boat? I'm like, sounds great. I'll go out, And then I realized he's using me to ski and do dumb stuff behind his boat. And he's like, he'd tell the girls, like, I told you he's pretty good, right? I'm like, am I your wingman right now? Am I helping you with the situation? And, years went by. So I went to college, done with college. And I was working at the Hyatt hotels as a guest service manager. And we got together one summer, and he's like, hey, man, I've been doing this PDR thing, and I think you'd be good at it. And I'm like, nah, I'm not interested in that, man. I mean, I'd heard of Dent Wizard. They tried to recruit me in North Carolina. Or actually, I was in Georgia. I was at my cousin's wedding. And my cousin's married, the girl she married was best friends with Mike O'Brien's girlfriend at the time. And Mike O'Brien had the Carolinas and I think Georgia too.
As a franchise owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they talked to me like, hey, you should join Dent Wizard. I'm like, I'm not interested.
So that was the first you heard of PDR?
First time.
Was
92.
92.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, first time.
So those were some of the, so correct my timeline, but some of the first classes were in 92, right?
89, I believe, was the first class. And that was the one with Rick Hummert and
Oh, that was 89?
Beretta. Yeah.
Wow.
So Rick, of course, went to St. Louis.
Yeah.
Mark was in Tampa, Mark Beretta. And I don't know, there's Dave and Jeff, and I don't really know all the players. I mean,
I believe Scott Blend was part of one of
I
those
think he might have
classes.
been. Yeah.
Wow.
But they developed markets and started doing this and they kind of put the word out like this does exist. Because I didn't know. So 92 rolls around, I'm like, not interested. And they must have these ads in these automotive magazines. And
To recruit.
yeah.
How old would you have been?
What's that?
How old would you have been?
I was 22 in 92. And then I was 24 when I started training.
So
And
your dad worked at a dealership.
my dad was a GM at a Toyota store.
Okay.
And the guy underneath of him was a used car manager. And he now owns a really large PDR company in Maryland. Danny Beers is his name, if you've never heard of him. Awesome guy. Still does amazing work. And because he's in the car business, we have a lot in common as far as, like, we know how to work those angles and dealers.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think you'd be good at this. I'm like, man, I don't want to do that.
So where did you train?
Well, here's what happened. After he told me that he made a certain amount of money and he didn't work nights and weekends, I'm like, I'm a little bit interested now because clearly that's more than what I was making at a hotel. I thought my dream was going to be a hotel manager. And
You'd make a good one, I bet.
And that's what you went to college for, right? Hospitality?
No, I was originally going to be an engineer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot of hard classes
It was tough,
to end up
man.
pushing dents.
I'm not going to lie. I was a freshman sitting there in calculus. And I looked over at this other guy, and he looked at me. I'm like, what are we doing here, man? It's a 6 o'clock class on a Thursday night. We could be at a bar playing sports or doing something. We both dropped that class and switched majors.
Okay.
He and I are still friends to this day as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I keep friends for a long, long time. Like,
Yeah.
usually forever. Like, if we're friends, clearly you know why. And if we're not, you kind of know why.
So what did you switch your major to?
Communications.
Okay.
It was very easy.
Okay. Yeah,
allowed
it
me
seems
to
like you fit right into that one.
allowed me to put my classes. So we had PTRs. I could do my class around PTRs, which was prime tanning rays. So if you go to the pool or the beach, you're you're looking around, you're like, this is much better than calculus. This is so much better.
PTR.
I've never heard of that one.
You majored in that, the PTR.
I was already tanning. My roommate, we laugh. We tell people, we're like, yeah, we started a tanning team. And people are like, really? I'm like, damn, these people are gullible, man. It's crazy.
But if you get enough people, you could probably do it.
We actually, the joke I told my kids, I said, yeah, I was in a fraternity. And they're like, what fraternity? And I said, Tau Alpha Nu. And they're like, oh. They didn't get it in the beginning. But now, like, they bought me shirts. Like I've never been in a fraternity. But it says Tau Alpha Nu. And if you take the first letters, it just spells tan right across. And they thought that was so funny. Like, damn, didn't see that one coming.
I didn't either.
Tau Alpha Nu. No such thing as Tau Alpha Nu, but if there was, you know.
You'd
It's
be
the
in it.
tri-lambda,
You'd be a frat boy.
Tri-lambdas of South Florida.
Okay, so you're back. You're starting PDR. Tell us about that. Where did you train, or how did you train? What was?
I trained in Maryland. Danny got me a hood and a light. Actually, it was a ballast. It wasn't. Really
What was this company called?
Nationwide Dent Repair.
Nationwide Dent Repair.
Yeah, out of Charles County, Maryland, Waldorf area. And I was kind of like, if I get good at this, I mean, I'll do this on the side, and I'll still keep my job at the Hyatt. And he's like, if you get good at this, you won't have time to do anything else. And I'm thinking like, well, I do know people in the car business, so maybe, it's 94. I'm like, I've got some connections. I knew some owners of dealerships, and that really didn't matter. And by the way, nobody cares who you know. Are you good? I don't know. I don't know if I'm any good.
Yeah.
I trained for 2 months, and I was still working at the Hyatt. And I said, I'm not going to leave the Hyatt until what I make overtakes that.
What did your training look like?
One-on-one in the beginning, and then leave, and then come back and like, where are you now? And focus on this. It was not a class setting. It was more like, 8 hours a day, pushing, trying to find your dent. And I wasn't really getting it, honestly, in the beginning. It was hard. I mean,
yeah.
And Danny, the way he learned from guys in Tennessee. He would go to these dealerships and find out. He would look at the cars and find, like, I don't want to learn from that guy. I don't want to learn from that guy. And Danny lived in Maryland. So he finally found these two guys that had a deal in Tennessee. And he's like, man, these guys are good. So I'm going to learn from these guys. And he went, and they didn't want to train him. Like, no, we're not training. We don't do training. We don't offer that at all. He's like, listen, I'll pay you this much money. Train me, and I'll never bother you again. I'll be somewhere else. And anyone that I bring on, if you guys train them, I'll pay you this. He was a businessman. Danny's, he's all about it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't getting it at first. So Danny calls one of the guys in Tennessee, says, hey, I need you to train this guy. And I'll give him 2 weeks. And he comes and he gives me 2 weeks. And then, at this point, I was living in Florida. I trained in Maryland for a few months. And
So the Hyatt was in Tampa,
yes.
and you went up to Maryland and stayed there.
I took a month off
Yep.
They gave it to me.
Yeah. But you were planning to go back.
Yeah, I was
to
definitely
Tampa.
going back to Tampa. Yeah. So I get back to Tampa, and the guy comes to Tampa and stays at my house for a month, or stays with me for a month. Yeah. And trains me. And then he went with me to dealerships. Like, let's see how you do.
Yeah.
So talk about one-on-one training. I mean, he's like, no, that's not good enough, man. You got to be able to fix some complex stuff. And we would go to dealers, and he would show me what other guys were doing and what they weren't doing. So I kind of figured that out. I'm like, oh, I could probably use that as a sales tactic, like, hey, let me clean that up for you, at no charge, and then let me get all your work. But anyway, regardless of that, he taught me some great things. And the question I asked him when he was done, I said, well, he goes, well, I'm leaving now. You're on your own. You're going to be good. I'm like, well, what happens if I can't fix the dent? He's like, you don't get paid. Oh, yeah, there's that. I don't make any money,
But that's such a, to think about it, that's such a motivator to learn. Right? That's what I love about PDR is that sink or swim mentality. It is up to you, and it's up to your investment in that PDR journey to pursue that and to get good. It's a...
You know how it is in the beginning, you're hitting rock lots and doing everything you possibly can. Like my first few retail customers, I'm still their dent guy 30 years later. Like, hey, man, I got one for you. The bad thing is they want 30-year-old prices, which I get. I'm like, prices have gone up a little bit. Yeah.
So I've never heard of the guy who trains you coming to live with you. That is unique. I've never heard that one before.
Lived at my house.
Wow.
And I'm glad he did. I learned a lot. He unfortunately passed away a few years back. But
what was that guy's name?
Tom Foster.
Tom Foster.
He was a
good dude.
Dent doctor. Yeah.
Okay.
Dent doctor.
He was he was one of the guys from Tennessee.
Yes. He worked with Darwin and Tom Harris, and don't want to name drop, but those are guys that he worked with. To the point where I'm in the elevator at MTE years later, and I had bought some tools from an old dent doctor. Like my first set of tools, $2,000. They're old rods. No screw-on tips. We used duct tape back then, and I bought them. And Carrie and I are in the elevator with Tom Harris and his wife, and I said, "Hey Tom, how you doing?" And he's like, "Hey." I said, "Yeah, man, I still have some old dent doctor tools." He's like, "Where'd you get them?" I said, "Well, I bought them." He's like, "Well, they belong to the company." He's like, "You got to turn those in." I'm like, "I never worked for Dent Doctor." He's like, "But you have Dent Doctor tools?" I'm like, "Well, I think they're pretty sure they're Dent Doctor tools. I bought them from a Dent Doctor." He goes, "You got to turn those in." I'm like, "You'll have to pry those out of my cold, dead hands."
Did those have
get those
a blue screwdriver style handle with the adjustable handle?
No, there were no adjustable handles. The blue screwdriver was PDQ, which is J.D. Martin, and he was out of Missouri. Good guy. Still comes to MT.
I swear I had at some point acquired some. I thought they were Dent Doctor, but obviously I'm wrong. But where you could loosen them, so like the Don Gray tools, but some of the first versions where they had this brass wire nut type deal that you'd loosen, and you could reverse the handle and tighten it back down.
Huh. I don't know. I kind of want to see those now.
What? I threw them away. I shouldn't. This was years ago. Before I realized what I had.
Never.
Well, they were kind of worthless, other than relics. But
then you give those away, or you sell them to someone who's maybe not seeing you coming, which we'll get into.
I learned my lesson.
So could you, in theory, all these early companies, Dent Doctor, I don't know all of them, Nationwide seems like it was pretty early on. Are they all, like if you did a tree, do they all come from Lido?
No.
Or where do those guys come from?
Lido was different. So Jürgen was in Germany, a German guy who went to live in Minnesota, and he's trained a bunch of people. Lido was in Brazil, right? And trained a lot. Well, he's trained a lot of Brazilians. But when he was in Miami,
Argentina.
Yeah, Argentina. I'm sorry. Lido
and
was
then
in Argentina.
Australia.
Yeah. And when he trained in the States, with that first class, the owners were Motorola guys, I believe, who originally made Dent Wizard grow quickly. They knew the business model and what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I didn't know Lido then. But, I'd heard his name, and I was naive. In '94, I'm like, oh, Dent Wizard, they sound, I didn't know. I'd already heard of them. So I'm like, oh, we can all be friends. And that's not kind of how it works in the PDR.
Not back then.
No.
Now, more so.
Yeah. I mean,
then, no way.
Yeah, we're good. But Dent Doctor had their franchise owner. I mean, the owner of dent doctor, and he was selling franchises. And they had their own training regimen. And then Dent Wizard came along, and those guys, they started developing markets. And the problem that happened is they would develop markets, and they would adhere to their pricing structure. But if someone got trained on the side, they would completely disrupt that pricing structure. And because people they didn't know about PDR then, you'd see guys doing like really dumb pricing and undercutting back in the 90s.
Wow.
80s and 90s.
So when you started, what was the pricing like back then?
125, 85, 125 a car, unless you went into a market where someone got trained and they, for whatever reason, $50 a car was a number that they were at.
Wow.
But if you think about it, if they were on their own, or even if they gave up 10%, it's probably more money than they've ever seen in their entire lives because they were working for $25,000 a year back then. So,
Yeah.
to make 50, hey, I just doubled my income, and you're giving away, the farm. And I still see some of those guys. But they're kind of, they don't really come to MTE much. But I still see them. I mean, there's guys all over that they'll never be networked up. They just do their job and they go home.
What percentage of techs in the U.S. do you think are those type of guys where they're just tucked away in a county somewhere that never stick their head up and they never show up to an MTE?
At least 70%.
You think 70% of technicians are kind of under the radar?
They've heard about MTE. They've heard about the Dent Olympics. The funniest thing of it I hear is, I don't need to compete in the Dent Olympics. I'll win that.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of laughing like, I would like to see that because it's a whole different animal. But, they're like, I don't need any new tools. I make all my money with these tools. So they don't really know the new stuff, the new technology, new billing applications. And because of that, they're stuck in a mindset where they're only going to make a certain amount of money, but they're happy with that. So why disrupt what they're already doing? They're happy. Their kids are probably grown. Their wife is happy,
Do you feel that is more consistent with some of those old original guys that just kind of got set in their ways, as opposed to, do you see new guys kind of taking that path where they're, they learn PDR and then they just stay incognito, or is that just that old dinosaur dent guy who learned and who?
I see some new guys do it. Not as much because the technology that they have at their fingertips, your videos, podcasts, Facebook, TikTok. I mean, how often do you hear, like, I saw a guy on YouTube fix that dent. You should be able to fix that dent. Yeah. In my head, I'm like, I don't want to fix that dent. Thanks for the Rivian.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Thanks a lot.
There's a guy in Jacksonville fix that Rivian right there. Yeah, I don't work on those. Does Honda make that? No?
Well, I think it shows that there's just so many niches, so many different ways that you can go in PDR that fit your style of what you want to do. If it's wholesale or big dents or exclusively hail, or auctions. There's guys that just run auctions and never come out of the auction.
Never.
And I think it's very unique in that way that you can kind of pick your path that you want to go and be well off doing that. There's a lot of money to be made in each of those, depending on how you maximize that stream.
What I see though, and I'm sure you guys do too, inefficiency. In our business, you can pick whatever route you want to go to, but I've learned this: if you're complaining at the hail pricing or the insurance companies, if you were doing wholesale, you'd complain about something in wholesale too. Mm-hmm. So they're not really finding any solution. They're complaining and hoping that someone else finds a solution and it gets better. Instead of being like, you know what, maybe we should have a meeting with these insurance companies and maybe we can talk about this. Maybe we can meet with, we've got avenues to go with NapDart and some other areas in our, that actually do have discussions. But typically the guys that are complaining, they're not going to get anywhere. There's no traction unless they're a part of the solution.
And I think maybe it's some of those guys who are those guys who are got their head down in some remote county who don't show up and realize how big PDR is and that there is strength in numbers. And you can go to MTE and see that, and then you can see these different affiliations that you're speaking about and see the camaraderie that we can all kind of link arms in a way to further the industry instead of sit around and mope and complain about this isn't going our way. That you can be part of the solution to it, but not be by yourself. You can join, like I said, link arms with other technicians in your specific niche of that industry to help fight whatever that is that you're having problems with.
And that's so just thinking about guys that are like that. And if you're not like that, to me, it's like, I don't care if somebody's like that, because to me, that seems like opportunity for someone who is connected, who does want to do, go the extra mile, get connected to other people, learn more. So, if you see people that are like that in your market, let them, you can let them be like that, and then you can just.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time as far as, let's just say if you're referencing the Rivian, if there's guys in my market who don't want to do the Rivian, that's fine for me. I mean, yeah. I'll do with them, right? So, obviously we want to do things collectively that raise the industry together, but I'm not going to go out and twist someone's arm, to take on jobs that they don't want to do, right. It's that it just raises my potential value in that aspect of, the type of repair I'm doing. And so,
I kind of, the guys that are like that, you got to kind of give it to them where it's like, they don't have to do any of that. They're fine. They don't have to get any new tools. They don't have to do anything. They're good. In my mind, there's kind of some respect for that guy who is like, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of opportunity for other people in that situation.
You have to let people operate within where their comfort level is. And if it's, and I think PDR affords that, in that if you want to be the guy who gets up at 6 and is home by 2 and on church on your boat by 3, then that's fine.
You
can do it. And there's room for that. Or if you want to be, in your shop at midnight working on a busted, smacked hail roof that no one else wants to do, then there's room for that too. There is. It's very unique in that way, and that's always impressed me about the PDR is how, people when we talk to new guys who are coming or want to get training, I'm like, man, you can really tailor this. There's not a set way to do it. Well, if you want to be 100% mobile, someone said they want to start a PDR company called Baby Dent Company because they only want to fix baby dents. I think
Small Dent Co.
Small Dent Company because you only want to fix small dents.
This might be a really good idea. We probably shouldn't tell everybody.
Don't tell everyone.
Yeah,
but so I've had several people if I go fix a small dent, they're almost embarrassed. They're like, I know it's small, but I want to fix. I'm like, why are you telling me this? I want you to fix the dent. This is my living. I want you to fix the small dent. So it's like I feel like there's an opportunity in marketing for those people. They're almost embarrassed to get their small dents fixed. So I think I'm gonna turn my marketing over.
Well,
take that advice.
I believe that there is.
Small dent
there are
specialist
companies
right
who market in the big dents. There are companies who market in the hail. There's mobile, retail. There's
medium length crease.
Medium Dent Co.
That's very specific.
Medium length crease dent company.
Non-brace.
Doors only.
Doors only. Thordings only.
Man, riches are in the niches.
Yeah. We're giving away that value, man.
We can't do that.
Tuesday through Thursday, Dent Co.
All joking aside, I've fixed all of it, but I would prefer, if I work with a dealership or an auction or a fleet company, I want to train them the way that I want to do business. And that's where guys lose it. They're like, they're dictating the price, and it's got to be this and that. And I'm like, Have you talked to them? Have you had a discussion and told them more the value of what it is you do? You know, you don't want to go in there and look at a dent and go, man, that's going to take like 20 hours. And I mean, I'm like, I'm not saying I can't fix it. I'm saying you're better off taking it to your body shop because you want to turn this car around. He's going to have that fixed in a few hours. They don't realize the complexity. Like, there's no paint missing. I'm like, well, there's probably going to be. But we've fixed, at this point in our careers, we've fixed a lot of crazy stuff, you know. And I think the training of what you've had, and you know, now you work smarter. Clearly, I mean, all of us. And I think that has a lot to do with the heading that we're all going for. Is let's work smart.
I work smarter, but I work where I want to work. Like that is heavily important to me, is to do what I want to do every day. Like I don't want to wake up. Not saying, I mean, obviously there's days where you don't want to do stuff, you know, whatever. But
you're trying to trend in that direction.
I want to trend in doing the types of repairs that bring me joy or satisfaction or whatever that is. And I have lots of friends who are up by 6, home by 11, on the boat by noon, and that's fine. And I think that's the thing, is to operate where you want to operate.
No offense, Kevin.
I wish I could vote every day, but I can't. I still need money to support my habits.
Boat the gas bill.
When you have more than one boat, it's kind of ridiculous. It's stupid. I should sell one, but then that would be even dumber.
How many do you have?
Well,
operational boats.
That actually, okay.
That float.
Okay.
With motors.
Oh, okay. I had 3. I did sell one, so I'm down to 2. And then, of course, we have all the paddle toys too. So we had a pedal boat that I sold. I actually gave
Those
that
don't
away.
Count.
If you saw the video, you'd be like, "That counts."
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to see that.
Yeah. Stand-up paddle boards, kayaks. We have all that crazy stuff too. But, you know, ultimately, there's not enough time. There just is not. But looking back, where my family sacrificed their time, and we worked just countless hours. It was 24/7. So now people see me now, and they don't realize, like, what did it take to get to that point?
Yeah.
They don't know the history of how did he get there, you know?
So you've been doing this how many years?
30 years.
Okay. And how long have you would you honestly say, I've been kind of taking it easy for how long?
Probably the last 7 years.
Yeah. So that's not very long.
I don't want to retire. I'm not going to retire.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to live while I'm still working.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to have some of that fun that most retirees have. Like, I want to go on a cruise. I want to go to an island. And, you know, I want to swim.
You want to go on a cruise or?
Well, I want to go on multiples.
Well, yeah.
You know, usually, never mind.
One a month at least.
Yeah. We tend to cruise a lot, but they're fun.
Hey man, if you can afford it and your job can facilitate that, then why not do it?
Why
I
not?
mean, you've got so many years on this earth, maybe, right? So, I mean, I think you need to maximize every bit of what you want out of that, and
Live now.
Live now. If that's living you, then go do it.
But you still seem like you get a lot of joy and satisfaction from working.
I do.
Which I feel like
I do.
we're made to serve other people, and if we're not serving other people in some capacity with our lives, then we're not going to be as fulfilled as we would be.
You have a sense of purpose every day.
Yeah.
Every single day you get up. If you run very efficiently, you're probably exercising, you're eating decent, and you have a good work-life balance. And I think having no drama really, really helps. Like
You have no drama policy?
I have no drama. I'm a solution guy, man. I'm not on the problem side. You know, if there is a problem, you can come to me and I'll help you figure it out. You know, and if I can't, then I'll tell you, you're on your own, because for whatever reason, it happens.
So what does a day in Kevin's work life look like? A typical day.
I get up at between 4 and 4:15.
No way.
Yeah, I do.
Like on purpose?
I do. I built a gym at home, and I know you can't really tell because I've been enjoying eating and drinking. But
there's some muscles under there. That's what you're saying?
I exercise every day.
Yeah.
Since I was 18, I haven't missed a full week of a.
Do you naturally get up that early, or you have
Yeah, I
to?
do.
Yeah.
No, I get up early. Yeah, I've always get up.
Yeah.
I kind of want to get my day going. And,
Yeah.
And even if we kind of joke like, even if you went out the night before, you still got to show up the next day.
Okay.
You know?
Is
Sports.
Is Carrie getting up that early too?
Yeah, she gets up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean she doesn't come in the gym like with me. She's like, just go do what you do. So I put a TV in there. I'll play some motivational movies, like Bad Boys 1. Don't
Very
get
specific.
I was thinking like Gladiator,
Rocky.
Braveheart, Rocky,
Rudy.
Training
He goes
Day.
Bad Boys 1.
Don't get shot today.
I recently rewatched Training Day on the Stair Stepper. I watch movies on the Stair Stepper so I don't
Yeah.
die.
Don't die.
Training Day, that's a good one.
Training Day is a good one.
So you're at 4:15. You start training day.
Yeah, so
Or,
I'm not a big.
Bad Boys 2.
One, Bad Boys,
Bad Boys
1.
1.
He's not a Bad Boys 2 guy.
I like Bad Boys.
Oh,
too.
okay.
Bad Boy, the new one. I didn't see the brand new one, but
I haven't seen it.
I mean I think we're the same age, so it's kind of like Bad Grandpa. No, that was different. Anyway.
I think it was me and my brother Chad, maybe one other friend. We snuck into Bad Boys 1 at the AMC 8 near Regency and got caught and kicked us out. That was the only time.
Yeah,
could see
you felt
that.
like a bad boy.
Yeah.
You were so bad.
So
Y'all high
ironic.
fived, walking back.
No. Just scared. Thought we were going to jail.
They didn't kick me out of that movie, probably because I was already, of age. I was old. I'm old now. So I get my workout in, and then I shower, and I pack my cooler every day. I eat out of a cooler. I bought an ice machine. It's kind of nice. And I'm usually out of my house before 6.
And you're
every day.
mostly doing wholesale dealership stuff?
Yeah, wholesale. And so I get to the dealership really early, and in doing so, I train the dealers. I'm like, just let me do what I do. I'll do your auction cars, your certified cars, whatever. Just leave me alone. Let me do what I do. We'll all make more money, and you'll be happy. And I've kind of curbed a few things. I've learned a lot over the years, but they're like, well, if they come in, like our vendors, they take the cars from the front, so customers don't see them. And my pitch against that is like, oh, you want me on the lot. You definitely want me out front. You want me to be the face of this dealership when no one's here, and you have service customers coming out here looking at your lot. You want me out there. Because first thing I'm going to say is like, I don't work here, but I bought a car here, and this is the best experience I've ever had. And they're like, oh, that makes sense. Or you want me to tell you your salesmen are lazy? No one wants to hear that. So I don't say that. Yeah, you didn't have a salesman here until 8:30. I was here at 6:30, getting your cars looking good, and I'm going to be done by 9. And here's the bill. Thanks. For however much. Which is usually
I've never thought about that
Yeah.
as a way to convince
let
them to
let
be up
me
front.
let me be up
Interesting.
front.
So if service is open, you're getting access to keys that early?
Yeah. Yes, but I don't always need keys.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a few
Teach us your
little tricks.
ways.
I've got a few little tricks that I've developed in 30 years that I don't.
Are you wedging a window when the window's up?
Not exactly.
Oh, you're buffing to gain access. Okay.
If the cars are unlocked, it's nice. I'll use the access holes already provided. I have no problem unscrewing a strike plate,
Yeah.
but
Disassembling
only the top
door.
part,
Easy.
and then you let the. Anyway, yeah, you guys know.
Yeah.
We
At
get
the
it.
auction, they're like, "We have a no drilling policy." I'm like, "That's funny. I do too." Before 6 a.m. I don't drill.
It's still dark.
These new DeWalt's have a light on them,
Ooh.
and it points at where the drill bit goes. I don't know if you've seen it.
Buffer.
Buffer, my bad. Yeah.
Aftermarket access.
Aftermarket factory access.
It's different because I've worked so many accounts where you have to figure it out without any using a scratch all or a unibit or a road approach, which we used, or just a regular drill bit, which, you know, take a 1/2 inch drill bit way back when, and it was a little bit larger, and that you're just trying to get a little bit in there, a little bite, and that thing would pull all the way through, and then it would, you know, hit the other side and create a big, anyway,
Nice.
yeah. So bad. So, you know, I mean, there's an art to that.
There is.
There's definitely an art to that.
There is.
But when people are like, oh, we don't drill, I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Hang on, I'll be right back. I would call Dentcraft, or back then, Anson was distributing. I'd say, hey, how many plugs did this company buy? And they're like, thousands. Thanks.
I remember, you know, Dent Wizard used to have a no drill policy, but they used to give you all the drill bits and bags of plugs.
Yeah.
What are these for? I don't know, but we have a no drill policy. Should you need
Here's
these
your
for
drill.
Should you need these for any reason?
Just so you know, we have a no drill policy.
So obviously, we don't condone drilling, but sometimes it's necessary to gain access.
If I can use a wiring harness, a hole that's already there, I still do take stuff apart, believe it or not. But my R&I was done for many, many years by Carrie.
Whoa.
Carrie used to go with
Yeah.
me every day.
Wow.
And it's kind of crazy. We worked for Enterprise for years, and we would go, and she's wearing a white shirt, our logo on the side. She would go get the keys, R&I all the cars, set them up, windows down, line them all up, do all the billing, because we were handwriting, you know, invoices. And I would be over there, and I'd take my shirt off.
No. You
When I
wouldn't.
got there, I'd place my shirt inside the truck, and I would just go to work, you know, and do what I do. And at the end of the day, I'd kind of clean up, put my shirt back on, like, hey, on the way home, we should go to sushi. And she goes, yeah, no. She's like, look at me. And I looked over, and she's like all dirty, like she's been laying inside of an engine compartment. Because, you know, I mean, white shirt on a lot, working
Yeah.
on cars. But she would get in some of these rental cars, and it was kind of nasty. It was dirty.
Oh, yeah.
You guys know.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
worked for the same company for years. And then, but she's always like, do they know? Does your friends know that I? So my friends would start coming over to over to the lot. And she goes, let's mess with them. I'm like, oh, gladly. And so Tommy King would come over, and Mike Insko, you know, there's a bunch of guys in our market, and we're all friends. They would come over, and Carrie's like, hey, your lunch is prepared now? I'm like, great. And she'd take some glue, and she'd put it on some tabs and put glue, you know, on a dent. And these guys, their jaws would drop. They're like, she can glue pull? And then she'd come over like, let me reapply some sunscreen. And she'd put some sunscreen.
Oh, my gosh.
Exactly. And they're like, so next thing you know, like, hey, do you think your wife could train my wife to do
Do you offer training?
So funny. And she's just messing with them. And of course, I go right along with the joke, and it's funny. I mean, we're all still great friends.
She should give a class at MTE.
She really should.
Yeah.
She's
That's
if she did, she would teach.
good idea.
She would actually teach dent guys to be more efficient and to be better with their money.
So other than efficiency, does she do any kind of, you know, will she
She can glue pull.
she'll glue pull or she'll
R&I.
sew glue?
She does
yeah.
R&I is amazing. She's got one of those magnetic bowls.
Has she
She's
ever
got all the
tried
tools.
pushing a dent with a
Yeah.
tool? Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, it looks so easy. I'm like, oh, here's a hood. I had a hood on a hood stand. Hail damage. She's over there and she's working. I'm like, oh yeah, you're so close. You're getting it. So she's over there for like an hour and a half trying to figure it out. And she goes, I'm like, what's wrong? It's so easy. And she goes, I'm gonna go to lunch. I'm like, okay. And she came back and like 30 minutes later, and of course, to mess with her, I went and I'm like, and I knocked them all out. The hood's still sitting there. And she comes back, and I put the tool exactly where she had it, had her set up. And she comes back, and she's eating. She's like, what happened? I'm like, the sun was hitting it, and it must have just shrunk all the dents. And she goes, you fixed them. You fixed them. I'm like, yeah, I fixed them. I said, because it's easy. You know?
Yeah.
And it was small hail, no big deal. But she can push a hail dent. She can glue pull. But mainly she runs our books and accounting and does all of the paperwork. I don't have to mess with any of it. I just set it up in the beginning with our W-9 and our insurance, with our, whether it's a new dealer, old dealer, and if I bring a guy on or I take accounts from someone else and we're doing a percentage, then I let her know what is going on there, and it's just a done deal. It's very easy having a partner with the same.
How valuable
mindset.
would you say that is? Would you encourage other guys to get their wives more involved?
Yes, absolutely. If it's possible. Carrie retired from her job at 35 years old. She was a civil engineer, and she said, I'm going to invest in our company, and it's going to be our company. And I said, well, I'm flying to New York. I've got a gig that's going to be every 2 weeks. And she goes, okay, I'll go with you. And she was writing up cars, and it was really nice. It was like summertime. It was great. We got a break from Florida. We were going up there on a Friday. We'd come back Sunday night or Monday. And in the beginning, I'm like, the guy's like, hey, man, I need you to come up here. The guys that here, they're not doing what you do. And I said, well, I'm not. In my head, I'm like, I'm not doing that. Line up 100 cars. And he goes, I got 150 cars right now. I'm like, all right. We jump on a plane. They'd put us up in Times Square. I'd go to Brooklyn and do all the cars. And then we'd come home. And this lasted for a long time. And then
How did you have a lot of stories like this?
yeah,
I don't understand. How is this happening?
I don't know.
What year were you doing? When did you start traveling like that?
That I started doing that in the 2003. I was taking on auctions and fleet accounts, and I would tell the fleet accounts, I'm like, listen. They would say, hey, these cars are going to get kicked. I'm like, no, send them to the dealerships, send them to another group, wherever they are. Like, no, they're going to get kicked. I'm like, I know. I've already looked at them. I know they're going to say their guy can't do it, which is great for me because I can. And they would say, yep, sure enough, I got a call. I'm like, all right, tell them I'm coming tomorrow. And I would show up and I'd fix the cars. And then I would get a new account. And it was
So you would network
great.
from that, your local auction.
Yes.
That's how you
Auction-
would connect to people all over the country.
auctions, fleet accounts, dealer groups, whatever I could. And then if I hypothetically came into your town, I would do my business first. I would already prove that we're gonna make money together. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a long-lasting relationship. Because let's be honest, any guy can go in and undercut you and try to get a job. But if you go in and you charge a little bit more and you do a better job and you're honest and you kind of show them and you communicate, and then you bring a guy who's has the same values as you on eventually, like this is going to be your guy, he's going to follow the standard that we've already shown you, then it's a no-brainer.
So you can take business from somebody else and charge more? You can do
Yes.
that?
Yeah, you can.
Wow.
You can. Anyone can. You don't have to undercut.
Okay.
So stop.
Well, I guess I mean, in all seriousness, it depends on the value that you're bringing above what the other guy was, right?
Yeah, and it
And
depends
you
on
were
the
able to
account.
communicate that.
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on the account. Like I speak the dealer lingo, so I can very easily go, who's your decision maker? I don't need to talk to the front desk. I don't need to talk to lot porter. Then, I mean, I'm going to eventually because I want them on my team.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I want to go in and I want to talk to the guy who's making the decisions or the inventory manager, and they can say, oh, we use my cousin. I'm like, oh, yeah? What's his name? And they're like, you don't use your cousin.
Yeah.
His name's Mookie. That's my cousin.
So ultimately, you get them on board, and they're happy, and you move on. You pick up more accounts, and It's hard. You do, unfortunately, you get burned trusting other people sometimes.
So Carrie came on with you full time after quitting her job.
Yeah.
And you obviously saw pretty soon that the value that she brought
I knew
potentially
already.
offset the other income that she got from her other job.
Yeah, oh yeah. I knew right away. I'm like, if she comes on and does all the writing and the billing and the headache part, and all I got to do is push dents.
I got a funny little story. So this would have been, I want to say like 99 or 2000. I broke my leg. I just started, so I started in 98. So I was year 1 or 2 out, and we rode dirt bikes at the time. And
You're with Dent Wizard.
Well, it might have been ADS. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyhow, I broke my leg riding dirt bikes, and I couldn't. I was on crutches. They wouldn't give me a walking cast. I had they shaped my cast so that you could not put weight on it or pressure, and so at the time, my wife worked at a tanning salon. Yeah.
What?
She could have got you a deal, man.
Tell me more.
She worked at a tanning salon, and so on her off days, she would come help me run cars, walk the lot, move cars for me. 'Cause I had to work off a little stool when I was doing the repairs. It was pretty hard to work on one leg or crutches. And so she'd come do all the admin or the moving of the cars for me. And there was a couple times where it was like, I can't come with you today. I got to go to work. And, you start looking at the pay, like, okay, what I'm going to lose today because you got to go do this job for X dollars an hour. If you work with me, we could do more. And so I learned early on that a good wife or helper in that regard, or both in this instance, is valuable. Even so, that was way long, 6 years ago. But now she's works with us, and she's tremendously valuable. I mean, she still helps us run cars when we need it, and walk lots, and find keys, and we can show up to a dealership, and the dent guys can just be dent guys and just roll through the dents, and there is such a skill to that, like you said about your wife, like to keep us efficient and fast, and to know what we need, and to be able to help keep that engine turning is a 100% invaluable skill that can double or triple what you can put out a day on your own. It's so frustrating when you're a dent guy and you got dents that you couldn't be doing, because that's where you make the money, is in the dents. Everything else is residual in the sense of that it supports the fixing of the dents. But if you're running keys, or you're trying to track down this mechanic who's got these 5 keys, you're not making any money. And so if she can keep those essentially things efficient and running for you, you can be way more efficient. And obviously there's people you can pay to do that, as far as you could hire an apprentice or a helper, sure, and all those things. But with my wife, she's part of the business.
She can be the face of your company.
You're like-minded. Same goals.
Better face.
Well, 100%. When she first,
he's handsome.
What's
the problem?
When she first came on to officially with All Out with me, and she was like, "These managers don't want to see me. They want to see you." And I'm like, I can guarantee
Wrong.
they don't want to see me. They would much rather see you. They see, the stereotypical me, with other vendors walking here every day, and they would love to see a happy, good-looking woman come in, and they just bring a whole different essence or vibe to the room, and you can see them kind of perk up and get all happy when a woman comes in. And it's like, oh, what do you and so I think she didn't see that in the beginning, and then she realized the value that can bring to the equation, and it's tremendous. And I know guys that don't want to bring their wife into the side of the business, and whatever reason, I understand maybe that doesn't make sense for you in your relationship or your business, but for me, it totally did. And she offsets what I do, and I'm sure your wife does too, where maybe in the way that she communicates something or just her problem solving in a certain situation where you would get frustrated or you'd get, whatever and throw your hands up, where she comes at it from a whole different angle. And it's been a tremendous, tremendous value for me. I want to say since, other than the tanning salon, I think that was her last job. She went and she went to nursing school and she was getting into nursing, but she realized that wasn't what she wanted to do. And then we had kids, and so we did the math on the day, that whole daycare thing, and it was like, no, you're going to be a stay-at-home mom. And so, but yeah, I mean, we've always been a single income home, and now I'm getting the equity out of what she's seen me do for 25 years.
Sure.
Where she was on the sidelines, I would say, watching, and now she's active in it, and it's been tremendously valuable, I would say, because I mean, she's not ignorant to what I'm doing. I mean, like I said, she's been watching from the sidelines for years as I did it, or just the conversations I would have with other, or she knew the workings of my business of PDR and how it worked and the frustrations, and now she's in it, and it's just been tremendously valuable. So if you have the ability to bring in your wife into your business, obviously have that discussion and look at what that looks like from all the angles and the pros and cons, and make sure your relationship can support that. And if it can, I would say it's worth at least testing the waters there.
It's not always easy, because if they think it's really easy what you do, like, it's easy, it's an easy job. But it's not. But I'm saying, that's why I'm glad Carrie tried. Hey, try it. You might like it. Damn, this is really hard. Yeah, of course. It's hard. If it was really easy, everyone would do it. Now, the hard part for me, running a business is completely different than fixing a dent. It is. Paying taxes, completely different. Managing a household with kids, different. Making sure those kids go to school and people are getting fed and people are, everything's taken care of. That's a different animal than fixing a dent on a car, no matter what. And running efficiently on top of that, to where you know where your money's going, you know where you're investing, you know how you're starting to set up for some sort of retirement. It's a skill. I wouldn't be at this point without Carrie. I know that. And hey, you did the due diligence. So,
well, I think it would slow you down if she was good at doing dents, potentially, because then it would take her focus from what she does best, which is, let the left hand do what the left hand does and the right hand do what the right hand does, and then work together to get the job done. And, if she fixed dents, and you'd be both fighting about who's going to go run key, or whatever, and so I think she, in that role that she's in, similar with my wife, that it's a complementary role.
Yeah.
That they support each other, and obviously makes your day more efficient.
So you've been doing this for a long time. You've had a successful business, it seems.
Yeah.
What would you say your strengths are that have really contributed towards that? And then what are some of the weaknesses that you have been able to, your strengths have just been able to compensate for?
I learned most guys, the way that they think about how to get business, but they don't think about longevity. Number one, they don't think about longevity in their body, in their health. And I'm not being negative on other dent guys. I'm saying they work a dent to the point where they're hurting their shoulder, their tendons, or whatever. I used to space those hard dents out, like space a couple, and then instead of working this shoulder so much, I'd switch to this shoulder or this arm, so I wouldn't get the tendonitis or the wrist, And then I would coach my dealers and my accounts the same. I said, listen, I appreciate all this hard work, and we're going to make money. It's going to be great. I'll save you money. We'll make money together. But we got to throw some easy ones in there because my body's going to need a break. I can't do this at this pace forever. And they bid on that. And they're like, that sounds good. I'm like, oh, okay. And then I would tell I'm like, that really worked. But my strength was being from a guest service standpoint with Hyatt, and then playing one of my favorite sports I've ever played was rugby, because literally you would try to kick the other team's ass for however long that you were on that pitch. You just try to pound them, and then at the end you're going to a bar drinking beer together. Like, hey man, that was a good one, high five. So I realized, I'm like, all right, on the field of battle, we're gonna fight. It's gonna be crazy, but after that, we can be friends. You know, we can be colleagues. We can get along. And I think because of that, I took the guest service part. I was already, I want to be nice, but I went at it a different way. I didn't go at it like, I'm going to undercut that guy. I'm going to take his business. I never looked at him as competitors. And I would go in developing long-term relationships. Like, I'm not looking for a one-night stand here. I'm looking for something that's going to long last. My name is not on the building of that dealership, so that is not my account. It's their account. It's not your account. It's not my account. It's, hey, whoever's in there making decisions, they're going to make decisions that's best for probably him or them, and then you're either in or out. And I would tell them, I'd say, look, if I'm not working here, I'll work next door or across the street or down the road, but I'm going to continue this business for as long as I possibly can. But I would go into the manager. I'm like, hey, man, I'd see a wedding ring. I'm like, how long have you been married? And they're like, why? I'm like, well, I'm into long-term relationships, and I just want to make sure you are too. And they would laugh. They'd look up and laugh, and then I'd be their dent guy for like forever. We're still, to this day, they're like, remember that time you came into my office and you said, you're just trying to make enough money to take your family on a nice vacation. And then you paused and you said, once a month. I'm like, of course I remember that. I still say.
I have to use that one.
Or they're like, I have negative 10 seconds to talk about Paintless Dent Repair. I'm like, me too. Get out of here. Because I don't have time to talk about it. I want to show you.
Yeah.
Let's do it,
So you're looking long term. Things that you're doing, relationships, everything. You're thinking of the long term.
Yeah. I always look at a long game, which is probably why I started picking off guys in my market years ago. Like when I started finding out their weakness. And in the beginning, it was strategy. I'm like, I'll be strategic. I'll find out what they're not doing. And then I'll go in and I'll do that, and I'll win over the dealership. Because, I'm like, all right, I'll try and figure something else out because I'm tired of hearing no. Right? We've all heard no. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I want to hear some yeses or even maybes. I'll turn that no into a maybe and maybe into a yes, and then yes into, hey, are you coming to my wedding? Yeah, I'm coming. I'm their best man, That's what. So doing that by picking off these guys, I'm like, oh, well, now we're friends. And then that friendship led to, hey, man, I trust you. I trust you. So I didn't want their accounts at that point, but I wanted to help them be the best version of them, and I knew where they were. And if they needed something, I wanted them to be able to rely on me. Like, I don't have time to fix this, man, but I got some work for you. And I have a lot of guys that still to this day, they'll call me like, hey, man, I've got an account. I can't handle it. I know you can. I'm like, let me see if I can. I don't say no. Like, let me think about it. And then I get back to them. Typically we'll take it on, but it depends on the guys I have and where I can place different guys. But when a guy retires, I hope to get a phone call. Oh, you're retiring? Yeah, call me. Let me take over those accounts.
So you were trying to be friends with competitors.
Yeah.
Before it was cool.
Yeah, I turned them into colleagues and friends, and we had parties way back when. Crazy story. I don't know. Mark Peretta's brother, Paul, got this virus, Guillain-Barré. You know about this?
No.
Paralyzed him. This is back in 2009. And MT was cool then, but it wasn't what it is now. It's just, and guys weren't as nice. I mean, it was still ego. But we were all friends in that market. And Paul gets paralyzed, and one of his biggest competitor goes into all of his accounts and said, "I'm working with Paul now, and I'll be taking over this account." And some of the dealers like, "What?" Well, as soon as I got word, Paul called me and said, "Hey man,
he was lying.
His brother, yeah, he was lying.
Okay.
The guy's in the hospital. He's paralyzed now, can't work at all. So we, as a group, went in and took over all of his accounts and made sure that he had money, like he had bills, that he was not prepared, not at all. So
Wow.
Everything I did at every dealership, I worked for him. I didn't put it in my name. I said, "Hey, is Paul still on the books?" They're like, "Yeah, you still at the same address?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, everything I do, I'm going to give 100%. I want 100% sent to him." And I was in a position I could do it. And they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, 100%." Because we didn't know how long it was going to be. We're like, what if it's 3 months? Well, he's still paralyzed. So
you're still doing it?
no, I'm not. Unfortunately, but the owner of the account comes to me and goes, "Double your price and we'll match it."
Wow.
They matched the
No
price
way.
and sent him all the money.
How many guys were
There were
helping
5
with
of
that?
us.
And all y'all did that?
All of us. Well,
Wow.
some of them gave whatever they could.
Yeah.
But they still gave. They still,
Yeah.
like if it was 30% or 50% or 20% or whatever it was, they still like, "Hey man, I'm looking out." I'm like, and I'm like, "If you can't do it, just let me know, and we'll get someone in there who can work the percentage or someone who understands how important to take care of this."
So
guy.
he's still paralyzed.
Still paralyzed. He's got major skills. Like he can paint. He built me.
From how? What do you mean paralyzed? Like,
He's from here down. From here down, he's paralyzed.
from the chest down.
So he can use. I mean, still paint, and he does. He makes lures, paints lures.
Wow.
He builds a lot of guns.
Ooh.
He actually built me one as a gift. I'm like, "Dude, you don't have to do that." And I'm like, "But that is a nice AR-15." So I do have it.
have you tried putting him on some hoods, man?
He's tried a few. He's tried to fix a few dents, and he can, but he has really. Things have changed so much since then in the business that I'm just like, "You're on disability now," so he gets money from that, and he still gets a percentage off of a lot of his accounts. And some of the guys that we still have, like if Paul calls me, just so you know, you're gonna give a percentage back, and like, no problem. So people that know the story, they're like, "Whatever you need."
I've always had this idea that a dude in a wheelchair, if he's lost his legs or paralyzed, whatever, if he's got full operation of his upper body, put that dude on some hoods or deck lids. I mean, he's essentially at that height all day. Put it on a hood stand and let that dude just be
Let
the
him
hood,
cook.
just be the hood guy.
So I bet somebody's out there doing it.
I would love to know
bet there
because
is.
I want to meet that
If
guy.
anybody knows that guy,
Or
let
if you
us
want to
know.
be that guy, then get a hold of me and I will help train you to be that guy, because there is a place for that guy in this industry.
I agree.
100%. I think he could absolutely crush it. I'll build him a cart, that works
and
off
it
the
all is on his wheelchair.
on the wheelchair. He can just
Dang. He could
run.
have a hood stand on his wheelchair.
Dude, it's just
Matt's
a whole. It's
already
a
building this in his
whole.
head.
whole
I see that. I'm
I've
gonna
thought
talk-
about it for years.
I'm actually going to tell him to call you.
I have literally thought about it for years of like, where's this dude who wants to be the hood guy in a wheelchair? Because, I mean, obviously you'd have to work out the split, because if you ain't get 50-50 of a car if you're just doing the hood, but you could work that out, man. You put that guy on a team and just let him be the hood guy. There's a place for that guy in this industry, I think.
Paul was good, by the way. When I first started, I would go into. I knew he was so busy because he had all these accounts, and I would pick up a few of his accounts because he was too busy. And he left stuff behind, and I would go in all night. I'm like, "Hey, I still see some stuff out there. Maybe your guy couldn't get to. Let me go ahead and knock it out for you. I'll do the first one for free, and then I'll But I never undercut him. I would just show them what I could do, and then as time went on, probably a year went by. He's best friends with one of my neighbors, and they're over there, and he comes over and he's seeing I'm out in the front of my house, in the driveway working on a hail car. And he comes over, he goes, damn, that's some good work, man. He goes, you're good at this. And then I said, thanks, man. You guys want a beer? And sure, we're sitting there BSing. And later he goes, you're a really good guy, man. He goes, I didn't want anything to do with you, by the way. Nothing. He goes, I know you went into some of my accounts and it pissed me off. I said, but I was just trying to get some work that you weren't doing. And I said, and that's how I got in. I said, I wasn't trying to take your work. I was trying to create work that you didn't do for myself because I needed the money. But I would go in and I'm like, you know what the difference between most vendors and I are? Now, I mean, I can say this now. And they're like, what? I'm like, they need the money and I want the money. And they're like, what? I'm like, think about that. Let that sink in. I want the money, which means I'm going to do an excellent job because I want the money. If they need the money, whatever, like, oh, that's good enough. Here's the money. Here's the money. It looks okay. Yeah, but I need the money. So, and I'd use that approach and some, whatever close works for you. But I like the sales aspect of PDR. Like we said, there's so many ways to make money in this business, but that was.
So how did that migrate to MTE? You're heavily involved in MTE. If someone shows up to MTE and they don't see you somehow walking around doing your thing, you're very active. You're a big personality, obviously. So, obviously somehow at some point MTE saw that and got their hooks into you in a good way and is capitalizing on that. So walk us through what that looked like.
I went to the first MTE.
Which was? Roughly.
99, I think. 99.
And that would have been in Tampa, Orlando?
No, it was Orlando. Tupperware Center. Excuse me.
What is that?
Tupperware Center is this huge spot. It's a venue where they would bring, because Tupperware back then, they'd have Tupperware parties. It was multi-level marketing. And they'd bring people in and they'd pump them up. And they had this huge building. It's still there. It's pretty amazing property.
What's it called now? Do you know?
Tupperware Center.
Still?
Yeah.
We got to look that up.
I think it's off of
International.
Orange Blossom Trail. Yeah.
That was going to be my next one.
OBT. South OBT. Towards Kissimmee. Anyway, the first one was there. And I went on a list. I was a list of, I think, 7 names, maybe 8, and I got invited from Inventure. Inventure's like, hey, I'm going to put you on my list. You won't have to register. Just when you get there, they'll give you a name badge, and it was the first one, and I did, and I get there, and it starts pouring down rain, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. They had the competition outside and stuff. And,
ooh.
Yeah, and tents are flying, and it was a sight. And I was like, what the heck is this?
Was it always called MTE?
Mobile Tech Expo and Sun King Publishing. That was the original.
I do remember that.
So Sun King, Kevin Hailwood had this Sun King Publishing, and he was a newspaper guy. He put out Detailer's Digest, Mobile Tech News, and he came from a background of interiors.
So of vehicle interior, of repair?
Yeah, yep. He used to work for Pan Am Airlines. And just his story was nuts. Like, what?
So you're telling me this guy, Kevin Hailwood, was not a PDR tech?
He was not. Do you ever see the pictures?
I just
that
always assumed that he was a PDR tech.
I've got pictures of him, like him and I, because I mess with him. Like, all right, the dent's right there. I'm like, what you got to do is you got to look at it like this and squint one eye, And if you're like, is he fixing that? I'm like, yep. He's fixing it right now.
Wow.
And he looked at me, I'm like, perfect. Of course, the dent's still there, know. And then I'd come in behind, like, but.
So he worked for Pan Am. Did he fix interior on the planes?
No.
Okay.
No. Him and Karen moved. They had kids, and they moved to Clearwater. And he had this Sun King Publishing, and he had people to work with him. And then he would put out this digest quarterly. And he made some money off of that, but he started this expo. I believe he went to SEMA or NACE, or probably both back then. And he's like, I'm going to do this just for mobile vendors. Because he was a mobile vendor.
Yeah.
He knew. He's like, we need a show just for mobile vendors. And I didn't know him then. Like, I had met him. He met me at one of my old Buick dealerships. And he's like, yeah, he goes, I'd love to talk to you. I'm like, okay, sounds great. Someone gave him my number. Somehow he comes up and he hands me some, some of his papers. And I'm like, oh, this is cool, He goes, well, let me get you on the list. He puts me on the list. And now every quarter I'm getting Mobile Tech Digest and Detailer's Digest. And I'm seeing who's who in the industry, because that's really what he was doing. He was writing stories about certain people, and you're reading it like, man, I do dents, and that's a great story. And then he'd have tech tips and advertising and
who was in the PDR community? Who was advertising in that?
Ding King was a big advertiser.
Wow.
Dent Craft, I think, advertised. Well, they were 97. So Inventure, he had a lot of the tool companies back then still advertising in there. Glass companies, detail companies.
Wow.
But he used to have a paint competition, interior competition, Dent Olympics, which I think from him and Tom Price had met. And Tom came up with this, hey, let's do a Dent Olympics kind of thing. And Kevin's like, yeah, okay, sounds great. And they started that. And in the first one, and then the second one, I didn't make the second one. I was just too busy. And then the third one.
At the first one, about how many people would you guess were there?
Maybe 300, 400.
Okay.
Maybe more. Maybe more. It was a 2-day thing, and I wasn't there for.
Was it mostly people in Florida, or were there people from all over the country?
There were people from all over, but mainly there were a lot of Floridian people.
Yeah.
But he had reached out already with his Mobile Tech News, and he had a lot of people on board. Like, oh, hope this works. In those early years of MTE, it was kind of crazy, man. They were doing a paint competition outside. They needed a compressor, so and I didn't know Kevin until we didn't become friends until the early 2000s, right? Yeah, and then they were doing, once it moved from Orlando to Clearwater, we met, and he's like, yeah, he goes, man, he goes, I have a dent in my car, and I looked at it and I said, all right, I'll fix it. So I became his dent guy, and then he goes, man, I really need some help getting cars for the Dent Olympics. I'm like, well, do you buy them? And he's like, no, we rent them. Like, you rent the cars and then you damage them and then fix them and then take them back. Yeah, I bet they love that. So
They've still never noticed.
Yeah, I'll tell you some of the stories after. So year 3, I'm there, and we become friends probably around year 5. And now I'm invested. I'm at all of them. I'm helping.
You say
him.
We became friends.
Kevin Hillwood and I became really good friends. I'm his dent guy.
Yeah.
He now needs help to get the rental cars, and of course I work with the rental car companies, all of them at that time. So I'm like, yeah, man, no problem. I'll help you. And he goes, it's got to be a story because I need 2 of them just alike. So what I want you to say is that it's for me and my fraternity brothers. I'm like, what fraternity were you in? He goes, I wasn't in a fraternity. He goes, we want the same car because we play tricks on each other. Like, that's not your car. That's. Anyway, it was
He
funny.
came out with an elaborate scheme.
It was a scheme to get the.
Which he probably didn't need, right?
But he didn't need it. But I went ahead with it. I liked it. I liked the scheme. I'm like, this. Okay, whatever you want to say, man. And once I started helping him get the cars for the Dent Olympics, during the cleanup, I was watching the guys clean up after the first few. So we're going into year 6, and I'm helping him get cars. And at that point, I'm watching the guys clean up. Like, that's good enough. It's a rental car. I'm like, so then I'm like, guys, when you're done, just don't touch the cars. And they're like, what? I'm like, don't touch them. You don't have to clean them up. I'll handle it. Because the guys that I'm renting from at my place, they're very strict. They know, they're going to see this and like, I'm going to have to fix them anyway. So if they booger them up, then it's double the work. So I'm like, just leave them alone.
They were under your name?
No. I would
Okay.
never do that.
Oh,
Never.
So for those who don't know, just the Dent Olympics is a competition where you rent the cars. Obviously,
Yeah.
we damage the cars in as the same damage, consistent as possible around the panels to make it a competition where
there's
guys.
a cannon involved.
Well, now
you can
Not
see our.
then.
Yeah.
It was a hammer
Wow.
and a golf ball.
I bet there was some drama.
So you're trying to be as consistent as possible across the panels to give consistent damage to
Yeah.
give guys compete, and then you're letting guys compete, and they could be essentially new guys or very experienced guys, and depending on how they do, this car is going to look a certain way when it's done, or not look a certain way.
Yeah.
And you can't just turn it into the rental company like that. You want to make sure it looks good, and so
You got to clean them up.
you have to clean them up, finish the dents, repair the damage that
Yeah.
they may have caused in order to give it back to the
Yes.
and maintain a happy customer.
To this day, I oversee more now, but we still clean up the cars.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want anyone in there touching them. Like, they have to be. I've got to know their level.
Yeah. Well, your
and be
name's
like,
on it, right?
Yeah, I'm like, okay, if we're cleaning these things up, they've got to be. It's not just like, oh, that's good enough. No, they've got to be flat. They've got to look a certain way, and they've got to be passable to the inspection. And if they're rented in Florida, I know what those inspectors are looking for. I already know what's on the sheet. I mean, we do fix dents that were previously there, and now they're like, there was a dent right here, but it's not there anymore. Yeah, we went ahead and took care of that. They don't know they're going to the Dent Olympics.
Yeah.
They have no idea. Or the beginner competition, or the tag team competition, or Dent Trials, which is coming up. But, yeah.
So the amount of volunteers at MTE was shocking to me. Like how many people?
It's insane.
Yeah, to put on the Dent Olympics, there's a. So how much do you get paid from MTE? What's
don't.
your salary?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't get paid.
So there's a
don't do it-
lot
I
of
don't-
people.
I don't do it for the money. I really don't.
Right. There's
I
I mean,
don't.
how many people are volunteering? I mean, how many guys are in that cleanup crew?
Well, now I have 30, and it's always a good time, and there's a great picture. Guys always ask me like, "Hey, I'll help you," and I don't know them. Like, I'm not saying no because I don't, I know your work. I'm saying I've got 5 vehicles here, and I've got 30 guys, so some of us are gonna be standing back anyway. Like, "Hey, I'm ready to go in, coach," But some of the dents I've seen, they're very hard. They're difficult. Some of them you got to kind of undo. I started allowing toll cut, which is sandpaper.
Just for the cleanup crew.
Just for the
We can use that, but the competitors cannot. And we can go back and buff. I think this year we may have some touch-up paint.
Well, there's other stuff besides the dent because you got to drain gas out of the cars, right? Because now they're in hotel convention centers, and there's rules for the cars coming in. They can't have flammables or whatever. So there's gas that's got to be taken out and obviously put back in. Now, in some of them, you're pulling the glass out of doors, right? You have to do some disassembly.
So the moderator team sets the cars up. The moderators are the ones that they do all the timing. We put the dents in to make sure they're consistent. And that's Andrew and April Kinsey and their team. So
How many guys are on that team, would you say?
There are, I believe, 8 total. And what they do is they take the cars apart to get the access the way they want it. They'll remove the glass. They'll take the mirrors off, and they'll start getting the car ready for putting the dents in. And that's the same team that goes back behind it and puts all the stuff back. Mm-hmm. And then my team, which is usually consistent of it was the judges. Years ago, it was just myself. Then Luke Price came, and he was helping me. He realized I needed some help because these cars, I would have been there till, doesn't matter how fast you are, you got to undo stuff and make it better. So he's like, I'll help you. So it was just him and I for a long time. And then I started using other judges. I'm like, hey, judge, you want to judge? Yeah? All right, good. Let me see your skill set. And you're going to have to help us at the end. And I let some of the judges that have been there since like day one, I'm like, you don't have to help us. You're getting old now. Your vision's gone. clearly you shouldn't be fixing dents. I'm kidding. I'm joking, by the way. But I brought in a whole nother crew just for cleanup, which makes it go by super fast. Like they're done with those cars within an hour. And it has nothing to do with the skill level of the competitor. They may have run out of time. They may have somehow the tool slipped, whatever it is. I mean, we're there to clean it up to make sure MT's reputation isn't tarnished.
Yeah, a lot of times those guys travel. They're not bringing their own tools. They're usually running around borrowing tools or grabbing what they can. They're building a little tool set to be able to do the dent competition, and maybe it's not what they're used to running with, and so maybe the competition didn't go as good for them as they'd hoped, and you got to go back behind them and clean it. A lot of times you and I know it's harder to do a dent that's been touched by somebody than if you just originally did it. I'm not saying necessarily with the competition, but I would imagine you're getting also skill levels of guys who, it's anyone can sign up, right? You're not vetting or qualifying anybody before.
Not for the Dent Olympics or the Dent Trials. We're not. Now, beginner competition we do. They've got to be under 2 years. They've got to be verified. And now we want them to be sponsored. So the sponsor actually pays their way in. And those are just
What's the reason for that? Like, what's the...
Well, if you're verified by your trainer, like your trainer and sponsor, they sponsor you. They pay your way in. Whether you pay them back or not, that's up to you. But that's saying your trainer has enough faith in you to go win this event. And if you win, you get automatic entry the following year into the Dent Olympics.
Okay.
And there's that accountability that they're actually a beginner and they haven't been fixing this for 10 years.
Think about this. If a guy is really that good, wins the beginner competition, goes into the Dent Trials or Dent Olympics, and does extremely well, and then says, hey, I'm going to move to Jacksonville. Who should I call? To work? One of you guys. So now you got a new employee who wants to work and learn from you guys, right? So you can watch these guys do what they do, and potentially you're either going to gain a friendship or potentially a new work help.
What is the winner of the beginner competition? What is the winner's
what are they?
Prize.
They get now, I believe, MTE is doing free airfare for the beginner. No, not airfare for the beginners. They're getting automatic entry and maybe 2-night hotel stay.
Wow.
I'm not sure. I didn't come up with the prizes. I mean, I collect prizes for all of them, but I'm not sure what they're willing to do.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I saw you pushing a cart.
Yeah.
Around to different booths.
Yeah.
And they're just putting tools on this cart, and I'm like, what is this? What is he doing?
Those are the prizes.
Are they just giving him tools? Like, this is crazy. And then I eventually figured it out.
Everybody donates for tools.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
I personally, it's tough for me to ask tool companies to give more because they give so much. And when they donate, I'm extremely thankful. But at the same time, I realize, like, this is their livelihood too. I mean, I volunteer my time. I'm not asking everyone to do the same. I'm saying, if you can, great. If you can donate, wonderful. We really appreciate it. If you can't, that's okay. We'll figure it out. But we want all the competitors to go away feeling like, man, that was amazing. I got bragging rights for a year. I won. I'm getting in the competition next year. And what an amazing experience. And we've had some pitfalls. We messed up a few in the past. We immediately took ownership. I mean, it wasn't my fault, but I'm saying if I'm on this
ownership right there.
Took ownership.
It wasn't my fault.
But I'm on this team, and I just want to say, look, man, we're really sorry we messed up, and please don't go away, and we'll fix it. We'll figure it out. And we've had a few like that, a few years where something got misplaced or the judge got
Mixed
wrong.
up.
Yeah.
That's just human error, right? I mean,
it was all human error.
I mean, it's just what it is. Any competition is going to have.
And guys understand that. But
Yeah.
when they go away and they blast it on Facebook, I told Kevin Hillwood years ago, I'm like, if anyone has a problem, anyone, with the Dent Olympics or any of the competitions, please have them call me and I'll take care of it. And he goes, some guys were complaining. I'm like, did you give him my number? He's like, I did. I'm like, you're never going to believe this. He's like, what? I'm like, they never called me.
Must have been not been that big of a problem.
I'm like, I'll fix it. I promise. I'll fix it.
So you've got two competitions, which is one is the Dent Olympics, which is a Mobile Tech Expo, that's a show that is held in Orlando.
Yes.
And that is beginning of the year, usually late January, early February.
Yeah, correct.
And that's the biggest one. That was the original one.
That's the big one.
That's the one that Kevin Hillwood started and was a
Yes.
part of originally.
Yes.
Now, there's another competition, or there's another expo show event, and that is in
Las Vegas.
Vegas.
And that is the PDR Expo. PDX is what they're calling it. It's owned by Convex, same owner of Mobile Tech Expo. Kevin had sold out to Convex, who owns multiple shows. I mean, some big shows. SHOT Show,
SEMA.
Candy Show. No, but Chuck
SEMA.
Schwartz was on
Food truck show,
Food Truck Owner Show, which will be in
detail
Orlando.
show.
They had the detail show. They purchased. Unfortunately, the owner had passed away, so they kind of absorbed that. It goes into Mobile Tech Expo, making this next one in Orlando is going to be the biggest one ever. It'll be huge.
Because
This
the
one
other
coming?
detail show went away.
Detail show went away, and
Oh,
now
okay.
all the detail and everything is now
Wow.
going to be right there at Mobile Tech. This year, we're at the Gaylord Palms. Next year in Orlando, we're back at the Shingle Creek, Rosen Shingle Creek.
So, do you think, as far as bringing the detail part into it, how do you think that has changed, or for the better or worse, Mobile Tech? I mean,
I think it's Kevin's original vision was let's all work together as mobile vendors, which he knew I'd already done. Like, I'm not just friends with Dent guys. I bring in detailers, wheel guys, interiors, glass, painters. Doesn't matter what it is, because I need those guys.
yeah,
And I also need them to go out and sell what it is I do.
yeah,
Like, I want them to go into a dealer like, hey, if I bring this guy in, don't mess with him. Just let him do what he does. You'll be happy, and it's no drama. And I like that sales pitch. So, who wouldn't?
I've always tried to have my
Yeah.
crew, as far as vendors that I recommend that are a different
Absolutely.
skill set that I don't offer, but that they do, and
Yeah.
because anyone that you recommend, you're essentially names on them. If they go and do a bad job, I mean, you kind of have to eat
Yeah.
that a little bit. So I've always tried to have, these are my guys. You need a paint guy? This is who I would
Right.
recommend.
It works better.
It works better. And I mean, and vice versa, because if you can get them in an account, that's a good one. And then they are going to get you in an account. As well as I do. I mean, the only thing that is consistent in the used car industry is inconsistency. I mean, it changes all the time.
Change is imminent.
And as soon as you get comfortable at one dealer with one manager, he moves and he's gone. There's a new guy. And, I've told my wife, the only thing that's I can say is consistent with Jacksonville, I've worked at every dealership at one point, and I don't now. Like, it's just been musical chairs as far as,
Sure.
and sometimes it gets a little tricky when your manager leaves, and you're used to getting X amount of cars a week, and now you're only getting this many cars a week, and it's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? Our business is failing. It's like, no, just hold on a minute. Another door will open. Another dealership will come on board. I mean, obviously, we don't want that. We want this to be as consistent as possible, but I mean, that's just what it is, and you have to be able to understand that and not. I mean, I try to hold on to dealerships as long as I can, but with an open hand, in the sense that the guy you love might retire next year, and then they bring in another guy who's got his own vendor, and the whole dynamic of that dealership changes from what used to be your rock star account to not now. But usually you'll go somewhere else and it'll work out. I mean, that's been the consistent thing that I can say, that the consistent model that I've seen happen is, don't be troubled. It'll all work out.
Nothing's forever.
Nothing's forever.
Things change, and the only thing that you adapt. You adapt, you change. You don't, the best thing you can do is not try to, like I said, these guys that go in and like, oh, I can do it cheaper. Great, but can you do it better? I mean, really? No. The answer is no. So be consistent on your end. You already know this is coming. They know you. I mean, your dealers know you, right? So
Yes.
Like I said, unfortunately, our names aren't on the building, but
And I've seen it work in my favor is that, like,
Not yet.
like that.
let's just say you're in a dealership, right? And when I go into a dealership, I want as many hooks into that dealership as possible. Whether or not it's knowing the guy who washes cars or the finance manager or whoever. I want everybody on my side. And then maybe the guy who brought me in that dealership, who was my buddy, now he leaves and he goes to another dealership. Well, now I've just, kind of doubled. Now he brings me into that dealership. And now, because I'm already established in this one, now I've just grown. And I think if you do it the right way, as far as your job, Dent's, PDR, or another service that you may offer, interior, paint, whatever that is, if you do it the right way and you do it good and you're fair and you're honest and consistent in your career, you will land on your feet. And this industry, as far as the used car market, is so good that news of who you are or what you do will travel throughout the dealerships, and you will build up a reputation and try to make that reputation precede you in a good way, and you will land on your feet somewhere. Someone's going to show up and call you. How many times, man, you're kind of thinking, man, my account's looking a little slim right now. Then somebody calls you, hey, Matt, remember me? Yeah, I'm over here. You want to come into this account? I just became the manager. And it's like, yeah. You show up, and then it's a killer account. Just being consistent. And the thing I've always tried to work on in my career, the prime thing has been my reputation. Above the dollars that I make, I mean, the dollars will take care of themselves, I think, if you work on a reputation, because the reputation is your future money. The dollars today is your day's money. And talking about looking down the road, if you build a good reputation, you are building that essentially 401k or that future income that comes at some point. And it's a fun industry. It's a unique industry. And if you're not going to these shows and seeing that, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
And it's your fault.
It's my fault.
It's your fault if you don't go.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
If you don't show up, it's your fault.
That was in the video that I got of him at MTV.
Oh, yeah.
And you put it real big. It's your fault.
So tell us more about PDR Expo.
So this was the idea that Kevin had was originally to have 2 shows in the U.S., 2 mobile tech expos. Unfortunately, the West Coast, it was good, and then COVID, and everyone that was showing up, I mean, they were from all over, but the idea was to bring in some West Coast people that potentially couldn't travel to Orlando. But anyway, PDR Expo, a lot of the same faces you'll see at Mobile Tech Expo, but that expo is strictly paintless dent repair. And the way I've been telling people, like, listen, if you miss those first years of Mobile Tech Expo, then you should go to PDR Expo, because you have an opportunity to see something grow and be part of that and take off and be like, yeah, man, I was there for the early years, Or if your son learns dance and all of a sudden that expo turns into be 10,000 people in the future, you're like, yeah, man, I was there in the beginning, and it was this and these guys, and there's pictures, of course, and competitions, and it's a little different because it's small. I mean, I would love to see this thing grow to 2,000 people. We're not there, but we also have to have everyone on board: vendors, exhibitors, vendors, West Coast people that or live out there, and all the tool companies have to show up. So,
but even even though it's small, there are certain advantages to it being small. What would those be, you think?
Networking alone at an expo like that, like Mobile Tech Expo, is so big and crazy, you might not even get a chance to, if you really see something that you love and you want to talk to the guy who made it, you won't get a chance because they're too busy. And it's 2 days. PDR Expo, that same guy's there. He's hanging out. He's doing some tools. He's having some fun. You know, he's going to have an opportunity. You're going to have a conversation. And next thing you know, you're like, hey, man, I really love this. This is great. And you get to see those guys that are making your favorite tools. You get to have conversations. And eventually, what that'll translate into is probably better work for that individual who might be new or might be, might not have the same work as you, but you start having these conversations, you network. Next thing you know, they're like, man, I feel pretty good about PDR. And 15 years go by and you help someone out and they're going to help someone out. And it's just a constant, circle. So,
yeah, I've been obviously Mobile Tech Expo, and that last year there was 5,000 to 6,000 attendees. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm working the A1 booth, and at the end of the day, I mean, some of that I don't remember anything. I mean, it was just like it happened so fast, and you're just talking tools, and you're just, we were busy at the A1 booth, and it was just you look up and the day's over, and you're forgetting some of the people. I got scolded by my wife because there was a guy that was standing around to talk to me for a long time, and I was just so busy, and he ended up walking away. And my wife told me, she's like, "Hey, make sure you talk to this guy," and I completely didn't, not out of being mean. It was just super busy, and he reached back out to me later, and we made a connection. But he just wanted to connect with me, and she's like, "Man, you got to do a better job at these people want to meet you. You need to make sure you do it." And I'm like, sorry, I'm trying. It's just sometimes it's just a mad scramble. And so I could say sometimes when you're in those big expos, it's just the quality of interaction you're going to get can be minimal. And I can tell you, when I'm done at the end of the day, like sometimes you don't want to go hang out with Dent guys. I mean, you're exhausted. You're tired. I mean, you try to be present and to be available and to do it, but it's like it's like running a marathon all day and to go, it's like, I just want to go lay on a bed,
be done
with no noise, so I would imagine PDR Expo would be a better place for some of those more intimate, meaningful conversations, or technicians that
it is. I like the fact that they're not giving up. Last year was interesting. I like the plaza. I like the idea of being downtown. I think it's a really cool spot right there at the head of Main and Fremont. And there's tons of stuff to do right there on Fremont Street. It's nuts. But when you're in the hotel, you're kind of focused in on the people around you. So if let's just say we have 20 booths or 30, whatever the number is, you can go to every booth within 2 days and have a conversation with whoever's there. At Mobile Tech Expo, not a chance.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Like literally, after the PDR Expo, I'm like, wow, that was great. I had a good time. But after Mobile Tech Expo, I'm like, I need to take a week off.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It can be.
It's insane. And the amount of parties, I mean, there's a party every night at Mobile Tech Expo. You kind of make stuff happen in Vegas. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. There's pub crawl. There's Sublime concert, which is going to be pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. How did you know someone in Sublime that you arranged that?
Of course.
Yeah.
By the way, just saying that, I will tell you, before I knew the dates of PDR X, and last year, U2 pulls up on a flatbed and plays right on Main and Fremont, right in front of the bar. We were just hanging out. Problem is, I had to leave. Our flight, we took the red eye. Carrie and I were on a red eye. We flew home, and we missed the show. We knew it was going to happen. No one knew, but we were in the hotel, and one of the workers, one manager's like, "Hey man, make sure you guys are outside after 11. U2's going to play."
So they just pulled. Their whole band was set up on a flatbed, and they just rolled up.
They rolled right up and
just
started jamming right there.
No way.
So after that, they're like, "Man, what are we going to do for next year?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. I'll make some stuff up. I'm gonna call Pearl Jam. So that I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get Pearl Jam to play. Like, you can get Pearl Jam to play? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't asked. But what's the worst they can say? No. That happens. I've heard no before. Like I said, I want to turn that no to a maybe you do a yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't call Pearl Jam, but
But
I
you
looked
called
at
Sublime.
I looked at the list, and it said free show Fremont. Fremont Street Experience has free shows, and Sublime is playing on Fremont, and I'm like, what? Sublime is playing Saturday night. After
Are you going to be there this time?
Oh yeah.
You're not catching the red eye.
No.
So that's Saturday night.
Saturday night after the expo and everything's done.
So this is just 2 days. MTE is like
Yeah.
Thursday. How many days? Is
MTE now, for a lot of people, starts on Tuesday. They come in Tuesday and they relax. They'll play around. They'll do whatever. There's so much to do in Orlando. They can Disney, whatever. Wednesday, same. Excuse me. People start coming in. Wednesday night, there's a party. Thursday, setup day, when we all
/ education day.
Yep. And it was
So there's nothing official on Wednesday, right?
nothing
Just like
official
registration.
unless your company's having meetings, which does happen.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But there's nothing official with MTE, unless you come in. Thursday's a day where we start putting dents in cars. We set up the venue. And Thursday night is the party. It's the welcome party, and they do the awards ceremony, People of the Year awards. And then Thursday night party, Friday night at 10 opens, and it's crazy. And we have Radio Row in there, which you can do a live podcast from Mobile Tech Expo. You just fill out your time slot. Ryan Schutt's in charge of that now, which I'm happy about because I couldn't do it all. And I said, hey, man, I need some help. He's like, I'll do it. We need some equipment, and you can bring your own, but you can do a live podcast right there from the show. So, but your audio is much better than what's in Mobile Tech.
That's Marcio.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Easy for you production. Let's go.
And then Saturday, Friday night, huge party Friday night at this MTE. Happened to be this more. Well, our beautiful team is sponsoring the event, and it's going to be good.
Can you tell anything about it yet?
Yeah, it's going to be it. So Friday night at Mobile Tech Expo, there's a party in the lawn right outside the exhibit hall, and it is going to be sponsored by DBAP and Secret Society, and we should have quite a few kegs available. So please be there.
Nice.
Wow.
It's an 80s party. So if you weren't around in the 80s, talk to your moms or your dads or whomever.
Borrow some
For those
80s
of us-
clothing.
Look, you can Google it. You can look it up. But we will have T-shirts for sale, DBAP T-shirts for sale, and it's a new 80s logo that was just finished today.
For those who don't know what DBAP is, can you elaborate on what?
So this is
PG version.
Just let it go.
This is how I raised my children. Unfortunately, it worked, but they would, I really don't have time for excuses and drama. So I'm like, just come on, don't be a pussy. And the bee is kind of perfect because a friend of ours got stung by a bee, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm swollen." I'm like, seriously, you're gonna make us say this? So the bee ended up in the logo, and it kind of works, but.
Yeah, I saw those stickers originally when they first kind of started floating around. I'm like, what is this? Oh, okay. I understand. I'm a little slow.
I love seeing the fact that it's all over the world. People are wearing T-shirts. Kids love the stickers. I just put one. I was in. They're all over the Bahamas. The stickers are all over the Bahamas and the Keys because I put them there.
Nice. Yeah.
So as far as you know, you came up with that? As far as you know?
Well, not the complete saying, but this actual, with our industry, yes.
The graphic, yeah.
Yeah. Brandon has been helping me with the logos, which is great because I'm not an artist. I don't know if you guys have seen my finger paintings.
Brandon Schmitz
Yeah, Brandon Schmitz.
of Ginger Bros Podcast.
Yes. And Holly Davis also deserves a lot of credit because she...
Did you notice my shirt?
I saw that. I love it.
That's not the new one, or the new.
No, it's not the new one.
The new one's so funny.
I want the new one.
By the way, I do want to tell you something funny about them.
Yeah.
They had already been, they both gingers, and and
Really?
they said,
I didn't realize that.
I said,
Both of
hey,
them?
I said, hey guys, you guys are gonna do a podcast, and they're like, nah. I'm like, whoa, no, you misunderstood. I wasn't asking, I was telling. Just joking. Next thing they're like, maybe we'll think about it, And they sure enough put this podcast together, and I was really impressed because I was like, wow, you guys knocked it out of the park. You crushed it. And they've had a good time with it.
They have.
But when they came in with the trolls and they were throwing koozies and balls and stuff, I'm like, yep, they nailed it.
They ran with it.
Nailed it. Yeah, I was really proud of them.
So there's the event he's talking about. There's an event at Mobile Tech where it is the tag team
challenge. Yeah.
and there's a costume involved.
We prefer you to dress up. We've got an announcer, and we'd like you to come in and provide some entertainment. Because, let's be honest, we can't entertain everyone.
So you want guys to fix dents dressed up as in some kind of costume.
I've had guys come in and
That's one of my favorite parts of the show. Is
You gotta
the tag
admit,
team.
Tad and Jeff
It's fun.
coming in every single time. They have nailed the costume every year.
They've won it. They've won every time, right?
They did Golden Girls. They did Lieutenant Dan and Forrest Gump. They did.
So why are they winning
Hulk
it? Are they winning it based on?
They're not winning the dents, although they're both awesome. They do amazing work.
But the costume is
the
what we're.
entertainment, they're like, all right, we'll nail that.
They lean into it.
They did well. Speaking of leaning into it, I don't know if I should be talking about this, but I'm going to say it because I want to. Christina Seckinger and Craig Dyer were a team one year, and they were working on the bedside. And here's Tad and Jeff, and they're dressed up as Hulk Hogan and Randy Macho Man Savage, and they're wearing these really short shorts. And Tad's up like this, and all of a sudden he bends over. Christina looks up, and like literally, Tad's sack is like.
Wow.
It became a great joke, and Christina goes, she's a good sport.
Didn't see
But it
that
was
one
funny.
coming.
It was funny. Yeah. It was. He's like, I can't believe that, man. I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, she's pretty tough, It was pretty good. Still to this day, I'm like, did you give her a nut basket for Christmas or something? Sorry.
All good, man. That's what we brought you on for. Man.
Thanks.
That's what I want to hear.
So funny.
Yeah.
It's still to this day. I'm like, that was a good one, man. But we didn't have the entertainment value then. I said, I want to be entertained. You guys come in, and that was the year that Jeremy Nadeau and Dave White came in as the Rednecks, rolled out red carpet, and they're tossing PBRs to the crowd. They're crushing beers, and Dave's just like, and they go in and they nail it. And on the entertainment side, like that was a lot of fun. Yeah. And I'm like, this is exactly what the vision was when we came up with that competition.
Just to bring some life to it instead of being such a stale, kind of sterile competition.
It's for fun.
dents.
Yeah, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Not everyone loved it. They didn't love the idea of.
Because it's kind of like a circus.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. But
it brings a lot of life to. Yeah, especially the music. There's there's not a lot going on, like music wise. It's a highlight for me, definitely.
Yeah.
So even that first year, Tad and Jeff won.
We didn't have the entertainment trophy part.
Who would have won that first year?
I think it would have been between them and Dave and Jeremy.
Okay.
Really. And they were great. By the way, I didn't know them before. So I get a list of all the competitors, and I called every single one of them and had a conversation, just so I could explain the expectation. Here, we're got a new competition. Here's what we're doing. Will you bring your A game? And you can dress up. We're gonna have an entertain. We want to be entertained, and so we were definitely entertained. Like
I'd say.
I was like, good job. But after talking to these guys, I realized, man, we all have so much in common. Number one, we're a bit crazy. I think Dent guys are kind of crazy, but they're just down to earth family guys that want to come and network and have a good time, and buy some tools and see new stuff.
So I don't know. I didn't prep you for this question, but I know there's a lot of other shows that are happening around the globe. Germany, Japan, Italy now. Do you foresee any future potentially with Mobile Tech getting involved with those shows? Or is that...
I do. I've been asked to go to all of the other shows I've been asked to go to and either be a judge or somehow be involved. And I see the value in other countries because not everyone who's in those countries, they don't have the means to travel here or for whatever reason, hey, let's bring a show to you. And I get that. Like, I like the fact that there's a show in Germany with Freddie Yonker. There's a show in Japan with Igor and Hiroshi, DB Tool, and all these smaller meetups that are going on. I like to see. I think it grows the network and it grows the industry, and it's all for the betterment of what we all do. We want to leave a legacy behind. Like, hey, I was part of something big. It was new when I started. When I left, it was much better than when I began, and people got along, and it was great. So,
the parent company for Mobile Tech, you said they do other shows here in the U.S. Do they do other shows outside of the U.S.? Do you know?
They've talked about it. I don't know what their involvement outside of the U.S. is. I don't. I'm not, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to tell me, but as a volunteer on the PDR side, I want them to bounce questions off me. I want them to know that I have your best interest, yours, and everyone who does PDR. I really want what's best for the industry.
Well, you're connected to it in a way that they probably aren't.
Yeah.
As someone who is.
Well, when Kevin sold it, I'm like, okay, well, what's my involvement going to be? And I wasn't sure because I didn't know the new owners. When they introduced me to them, like, hey, do you want to help us with this? And we still need help getting cars. And of course, April Kinsey said, hey, you need to make sure that he's involved because he can help us in a larger way behind the scenes than most people. So I kind of stayed behind the scenes for a long, long time. And then, over the years, you kind of can't help it. Like, hey, don't touch those cars. Don't touch the cars. So we would still clean them up and make it just hopefully fun for everyone. But I'm glad I'm involved. I like the fact that PDR Expo is going to continue because I was a little worried. Like, okay, we're dropping the Mobile Tech. Like, it's not going to be a Mobile Tech. It's not going to be detail. It's just going to be Dents in Vegas. And it's a much smaller show. But,
Why did they do that?
They bought the detail show, the Southern Detail Conference. So, excuse me. And the owner of that show, unfortunately, passed away last year. So I think they kind of absorbed it into MTE, which they were already doing. But now MTE's it's so big that most of the detail companies have their meetings during MTE.
And so we talked about the Dent competitions. Is there any other competitions like the detailing or the other?
There is a detail competition.
What does that look like?
I don't know completely, but the liaison for the detail for MTE, her and I are great friends. It's Megan Poirier. She's awesome. She used to run Auto Geek, which if you're familiar, she's she used to run it. They used to have a detail fest way back when. Kevin introduced me to to her. They brought me in. They needed it. They wanted to do a dent. They wanted to have a dent guy on at their show. So I said, yeah, because Kevin's like, hey, I really want you to do this. There's dent guys down there, and I didn't know too many people in South Florida at the time. So I'm like, yeah, sounds good. I'll bring my wife and kids, and we'll go down and have a nice time. And we did. We had a great time. And then they intertwined with Barrett, and then Megan left Auto Geek, and the company sold, and then Megan's now with a different company. But because she knows everyone on the detail side, she's their go-to. Like if there's questions on the detail side, she'll get a phone call. PDR side, I'll get a phone call. So having all of us like, hey, this is what's best for mobile tech, and this is what's best for the industry, because we've seen it and we kind of know hopefully the route that it's going. But I tell people, like, listen, if you have ideas you want to share, I'm call me anytime. Serious. I mean, you got stuff you want to see that we're not providing, or you want to see something different, I'll at least pitch it. I'll run it by him. If it's a good idea, who knows?
So I've heard the name Sheldon K.
Sheldon K.
What is his affiliation with the?
He is the manager over Mobile Tech. He manages that show, Mobile Tech Expo and PDR Expo. He is there.
He works for the parent group?
Yeah, he works for Convex, and
Okay.
he is the man for those shows and the Food Truck Owners Show. He's involved with SHOT Show. They're all, I mean, that team is involved with SHOT Show, Candy Show. I don't even know how many they do. I mean, you have to look on their website, but
Yeah.
Convex is known for putting on huge...
Blade Show, probably,
Probably,
because they're, I know, affiliated with SHOT Show.
yeah.
Just went to one in Atlanta. It's really big.
Yeah. I will be at the Food Truck Owners Show.
Really?
Where's that at?
It's in Orlando.
When is that?
It's in November 11th and 12th, I believe.
Why will you be there?
Well,
For fun? Or on business?
it'll be a business trip. They've asked me to get involved, and they wanted Carrie and I to help them out with some stuff, and we said, sure.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So you're just extending your services into that
Why?
side of things.
I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I like
You're
food.
kind of people.
I like food, and it's in the title, Food Truck Owner.
I thought it was for the people.
So I also like cruises. I just got off a cruise ship a few weeks ago, but while I was on there, I noticed that these huge ships. This is Utopia of the Seas by Royal Caribbean. And by the pool, they have it's a food truck that they brought in and put it on the pool deck. They made it really nice. Like, it's not an actual food truck. They made it look like it's just a crazy. And I'm like, man, they're going food truck? I'm going to invite Royal Caribbean to the food truck.
That's good.
I've also pitched them on this. I've pitched Royal Caribbean on this. I've gotten to their general manager, and I said, hey, that Austin Healy over there has some dents in it. I can fix that. And they're like, really? I'm like, just got to get my tools on board for 2 weeks.
You do a demo for a free cruise.
I probably,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it. Yeah.
There's something appealing
do that.
about a food truck, man. I don't know what it is. But when I have the opportunity to eat food truck food, it's kind of like a, yes,
I feel like it's
a good food
because
truck.
it's got the odds are stacked against it. It's a tiny trailer of a kitchen on wheels. So for that thing to survive, it's got to be really good, right?
Well, that's what makes, I think that's the appeal of a food truck, is that usually they're going to find their little niche of food. It's
Yes.
a baked
Get
potato
really good
or
at it.
something,
Right.
and they're going to just really nail it. And they're going to offer 1 or 2 or 3, 5 dishes that are just out of this world good. And I love that.
Are you going to go to the show?
I don't know. It's the first I knew it was a thing.
Not gonna lie,
Wow.
But that is,
You're invited,
dude.
You heard it here first.
Listen, man.
You guys like food?
They have a cleanup crew.
We're it.
I have learned.
We can make this happen.
I have learned that I'm an expo junkie, man. Like
I like expos.
I love expos.
Wow.
We went to the Blade Show, and we went to the one in Atlanta. And I want to take my dad, my brother-in-law, my sons, and my nephew, and I prepped them all. I said, listen, just so we're all clear before we get in this car, I plan on being here the entire time the doors are open, and I plan on looking at every booth. So if those are not your plans, you might not want to go with me. But, like, I'm going to ring this thing out. Like, if I go to an expo, and my boys didn't understand it, and they still don't. So I have this, you know, especially if I'm going to buy a product. Like, I do the hover first. Like, I'm not going to just walk in and buy the first thing.
Right.
You know, because I want to see what's at the other end of the expo. So I do this broad kind of overview of what's here, and I kind of make note of, like, okay, whatever. If it's let's say it's a knife show, like, okay, that guy at the front, but I want to go to the back and see what this guy's got. And so I do this, you know, bird's eye perspective of what's there, and then I slowly start narrowing down what I want to get. And it's, I don't know, man. It's really, I won't say it's addicting, but there's something that happens to me when I get to a really good expo that even the mobile tech, man. Like, I go there and I'm not leaving early. Like, you know, I'm going to look at every booth. At some point, I get out of my booth and I go up and down and I'm looking. I love new products. I'm a product guy. I'm a thing guy. I love new things, gadgets, whatever that is. And if it's, you know, pocket knives or a PDR tool, it doesn't matter what it is. But expos, just I'm dying to go to SHOT Show. I think I have it in this year. You got to be.
I can make it happen.
You got to be in the industry to go to SHOT Show, and I think I got it in, and I'm hoping to
Keep
go.
it on the down low, man. I'll hook it up.
Okay.
Have you been?
Shh. No.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to go to gun shows or boat shows. I don't know if you guys know that. It's actually self-ban because if I go,
Oh yeah.
what do you mean we don't have any money in our bank account anymore?
Yeah.
It's not good.
SHOT Show is on my list, man. I think my head would explode if I went to that
I would
place.
probably
the amount of money they put into that convention. Like,
It's insane.
I've seen Instagram and the let's just say the booths or the vendor exhibits, what they set up. I saw, like, pictures of the Glock one or videos of the Glock booth that they had, and it's 2-story.
It's insane.
Like, it's insane the amount of money for these sets and what to get them there set up mobily at this thing. And I mean, I just get all excited when I
will
think
go.
about that.
I will go, but I want to wait until I'm ready to put a in-ground shooting range in, and I'm not quite ready. Yeah. So here's the capsule. What they do. I'm serious. I've thought about it. Carrie's like, "You really want to go to SHOT?" I'm like, "I do want to go to SHOT Show."
Yeah, that's on my list.
I like when years ago she's like, "You don't need that gun." I'm like, "It's not a need. It's a want." I've learned to separate needs and wants a long time ago.
Yeah,
that's a want.
And you're allowed to have wants.
You are.
Yeah, everyone's allowed to have.
I've
wants.
had more Dent guys give me as a gift for whatever I've done. I've gotten several guns.
Wow.
AR was one of them. There's a couple of Smith & Wesson, one Glock.
Shh. You're not supposed to talk about those.
Oh, I was just kidding. They're not.
You
They're not.
you lost those.
Yeah.
And your
You
boat.
took them on the boat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. I don't have those.
Listen, man, if you're not, like, buy the things you want. You know, if you're putting in and you're putting everything into the industry and you're giving the way you're giving and doing the things you're doing with your time, I never feel guilty for having a want. As long as your needs are met. I mean, obviously you gotta keep the lights on and the family fed and the bills paid and, you know,
Be responsible.
be responsible and set your future up in the right way. But then buy what you want, man. You're not taking it with you when you
You're
die.
right. You're absolutely right.
Have fun.
Told the kids the same thing. There'll be nothing. I will leave nothing for you. Just kidding. I was actually kidding. I will leave them something, but it will not be money.
If it's guns or dent
Just
tools
be
or
boats and guns.
boats or whatever it is, that's your thing. Like, do it. I'm all for, like,
Some dent tools. Go make some money.
yeah.
By the way, you know how many dent tools? I'm sure between us we have like a ridiculous amount of dent tools.
Yeah.
Between the two of y'all, probably. I have
It
a
is
few.
ridiculous.
Well, I used to try to collect them. You know, I found the best place to get them was from body shops, from body technicians who tried it and said, "Oh, this thing ain't for
Yeah.
me." And then I'm like, "Well, I'll trade. You know, take those off your hand for." And I started collecting some dent tools, but once better tools started coming out, then I was kind of like, these are. And usually those were kind of, unless they were good, some of those were low quality, just stuff they got. But now I just really pursue getting high quality stuff, nice,
So they won't break.
so they won't break. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna,
We've talked about this museum, PDR museum. What do you think?
of course,
I like it.
what of having one.
I think either we're gonna have one, we're gonna have like an area. Anson has talked about it. Dentcraft would love to be somehow involved, I'm sure. I'll
What,
speak for
having it
them.
at Mobile Tech?
I would love to have something at Mobile Tech where every guy that comes in, girl, guy, can walk through and be like, "Wow, this is amazing. These are old tools." But I don't think that's where what would happen. I think it would be at a shop, at a at a manufacturer, at a fabricator, or someone's actual, like a tool company would have something where, hey, take the walking tour of the PDR museum. You know, what do you think?
Of course.
I'd go.
Yeah.
So two thoughts. One, having something like that at Mobile Tech would be genius. I know that might not make sense logistically for some reason. I think you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Like somehow like a
Like a walk-through exhibit.
walkthrough
they
exhibit.
Do stuff like that all the time.
You know, you can make it just like how dent crafts are, where they're kind of velcroed on the wall, where no one's going to take them or pull them off. You know, they
Yeah.
can just have this thing, and you can have little who made it and the year or whatever, who it was donated by or whatever. And I think that'd be. I mean,
It'd be cool.
it's healthy to know where we came from as an industry,
Yeah.
to kind of see that in real life on a, you can touch and feel and see, like, this is the evolution of tools. This is what we started with. This is where we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it brings a level of appreciation for one. And just acknowledging history is always good, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like you're just looking at, wow, I mean, there's people who paved the way as tool builders, like Jerry Blim, like Lido, the Argentinian steel, and all the Dent Wizard early days tools, and
Sid Emmert, J.D. Martin.
paying homage to all those guys who helped get us to where we can have a podcast about dent tools. Like,
Isn't that crazy?
It's pretty crazy. And I think we as an industry should somehow do that. I think for the most for people seeing it would be at Mobile Tech, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because it's hard to get to a location in Oklahoma or Missouri, or wherever we might have this thing. But I think there could be some kind of temporary thing set up at these, whether or
We
not it's
can do it.
PDR Expo or whether or not it's Mobile Tech Expo, just to honor those tool builders and keep adding to it. I mean, because we're only evolving as an industry. I mean, every day there's a new tool that comes out and a new thing that makes our job easier. And I mean, to keep adding to that. That's one reason I wanted to build my tool wall behind me. Come buy a tool, and if you don't buy the tool, I'm going to hang on to it, and I'm going to add that to my legacy because I want to keep that going.
Reminds me. Yeah. Here, just take that. I want 2 of those, 4 of those.
Yeah.
Serious.
Well.
You've got some great tools.
Well, we can pick through there when we're done. I'll give you some for you. Listen, you came bearing gifts. and obviously you paid some expenses to get here, and so yeah, you can.
You don't have to do that.
Of course, we don't have to do that. We already covered that with what you do.
That's
and
true.
Right? So,
thank you.
of course.
Thank you.
Of course. What time we at, Marcio? 2.5 hours. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, is there someone like just getting into the industry? Any last words, like of advice for them? Someone's just getting in. What would you tell them? Best advice for a rookie?
I would say be humble. Be humble. Network. Don't be a keyboard warrior. Get out there. Continue working your principles. And at the same time, if you have an ability to team up and learn whatever you can from guys like us or older or whomever, just never stop questing that quest for knowledge. Knowledge of not just fixing the dent. I hate to say this, fixing a dent is it's a very small part of this business. It just so happens we're good at fixing dents, but the other side of running and doing this is your ability for sales, your networking, your responsibility to your community, to your family. I mean, the best dent guys are the ones that are paying the bills, taking care of their family, having a work family life, and being able to fix a dent. So learn from those guys, Come to the shows and really take part in everything you possibly can. And if you have an ego, check it at the door, because it doesn't work like that anymore. We're all nice. We want to help. So
We're not all nice.
Maybe you're probably right.
Well,
Most of the people are.
most of the people, and
There's some that are not.
so speaking of that, there's been a lot of, and I'd like you to talk about this because you're not a tool builder, but you have seen all the tool companies who obviously are part of Mobile Tech Expo. So from your perspective, there's a lot of cheap products that are coming out through Amazon and Temu, and that are either direct copies of established tool companies or products that are out now. And, you have these, let's just say, other countries that are knocking off established glue tabs or other tool accessories, or even tools for that matter, being direct copies or cheap copies. What is your perspective that does to our industry?
I think it cheapens it, and it's not a good look. But clearly, I've been on the tool development side. I've worked in I've bent tools. I've been dip tool. Anyway, I've seen it on that. I know how hard it is, and from start to finish, to take a tool from an idea to retail is very, very difficult. So if someone just directly knocks that off and they don't put in the research and development or the actual anything, they just make a tool and then they put it for sale for half price, that's kills the tool companies, because they've invested a lot of time and money. And I would just encourage anyone who buys from that or thinks, I'll just buy a cheaper tool, think about what you're doing to an industry that needs your help. Not just needs the money, but they're not going to be around if you continue to buy cheap tools off of Temu and Amazon. So meet the owner, meet the developer, meet the guy who put it together. Why not? Talk to them. Hey, you got questions? They can answer. Hey, Temu.
Yeah.
And if you live here, why not support your local companies?
To me, there's always going to be the guys that are going to buy the cheaper thing.
Always.
You're just not going to get rid of that. But there's an opportunity to support the people who you feel like are helping you further your trade, helping you be more efficient. And you want those people to keep innovating, right? So like whenever you buy a tool from somebody, you're almost buying a membership to support that person. And yeah, here's my money for this tool. I know part of that is going to go towards your building that next one. And that just doesn't happen whenever you're
supporting future innovation.
Yes.
You're investing in future innovation from that tool builder by buying their tools. You're saying essentially, keep going.
I'll bring this up. We were going to talk about it, but my role with Dentcraft is a great one. I've used their tools for years. I've used Inventure, Dent Doctor, obviously. I still have those.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Not giving those up. Anyway, I've used everyone's tools. I have several from many different companies. When the owner of Dentcraft passed away, we realized that in that company, he can fix a dent. But everyone there, that team, not everyone there can fix a dent. They don't know what it takes. So Carrie and I, we'd been friends with them for years. We felt like we were part of their family. We jumped in and said, you know what? The owner's passed away. We're going to help them make sure they're on their feet and make sure they continue making excellent tools. And I've helped them on some development stuff, but at the same time, we want to keep that family together, you know. So I feel like we do our part. Carrie helps them, and I don't know if you see her, but she works constantly with Dentcraft at the Dentcraft booth. But I have a relationship with all the companies simply because I think we're all have the same goal. We all want to just push this business to be the best ever. So, and still have that close-knit family feeling. So it's nice when we all get along.
Most of the time, too, I mean, like some of these tool companies, I mean, I'm speaking from my perspective now. You know, you're probably started as a technician and you got into somehow making tools and you had a cool idea and you're trying to sell a product and you start making small batches. You're not making quantities of 10,000 or 50,000. You're making quantities of 100 or 50 or whatever, and it costs more. And there's risk for that guy to come up and to put that money out there to do it, whether it's a hot glue or a tab or some other accessory. Like, you're fronting this money and hoping that the industry accepts it and you don't go backwards on this. And so usually it's coming from a low quantity initially and just to get it going and seeing if there's a need in the industry. And so it costs more. I mean, there's a higher, you know, you're probably getting it manufactured in the U.S. by a U.S. company.
Yeah.
And you're not, again, it's in lower quantities, and so things are cost more. Obviously, if you can farm things out overseas and you're doing batches of 50,000, of course it's going to be cheap. But that's not what we're doing. That's not the culture. That's not where these are coming from. They're coming from grassroots technicians who were either building it in their garage or handing it off to other PDR companies who are building batches of things at a time, and it costs more. And I think if you understand a little bit of that perspective, that you know that they're not just trying to take your head off. They're just trying to make a living and obviously give you a nice product that for a price that makes sense. And again, if you're supporting that, then you're essentially telling that company or that technician, hey man, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm not saying everyone's got to buy your tool. I mean, there are lots of tools that I don't buy. There are lots of people who don't buy my tools, and that's okay. Like, if it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to you. But I think what doesn't make sense for anyone is for you to support a cheap copy of some mass-produced thing that's coming from overseas that's completely bypassing the apparatus or the vehicle that got him there, which is that technician and that company that started that out. Like, we're not. If you care about this industry at all, and you care about where this industry is going to go in any 5, 10, whatever time span you're looking at it, you're going to support it in that way. And absolutely. I definitely think coming to Mobile Tech Expo or PDR Expo in Vegas gives you a glimpse under the hood, so to speak, of what that looks like, because you're going to go meet that technician. You're going to talk to him and say, what was your idea behind making this? And he's going to tell you, and it's going to make sense because he's the developer of it, other some guy who just copied a part and put it on Amazon who doesn't know what or why or how or whatever. And I think if you care about the industry, you'll invest your money back in that way. Obviously, you're not going to get everybody to do that, James. I mean, there's tons of people who don't obviously look at it from that perspective, and you're not going to win everybody over. But I think we need to keep preaching that message and keep giving people the perspective from the tool builder of what and why and how we're doing these things, and keep spreading that message to support those guys, man. We're supporting you. We're investing our hard-earned money into building these things and trusting that it's going to make sense to you and you're going to buy it. And don't support the copies. Don't support the cheap guys. You're just basically giving a middle finger back to this industry, in my perspective.
I agree.
And I don't want to be your friend if that's what you're going to do.
I almost can understand, like, if you were just starting out and you're broke and you can buy this cheap tool for, way less, and you need to do that, and you feel like that's your only option. But I feel like once you're kind of established, you kind of paid your dues, you're making good money, you have the opportunity to support this industry, and it's probably the better thing to do if you think about it.
Yeah, and that's just the evolution of anything. I mean, if you're getting into golfing, you're not going to start out with the best golf clubs. You're going to start out with a low budget set that makes sense. But eventually you're going to graduate up, and you're going to buy quality things with quality parts made by quality companies that you can get behind, essentially.
Did you just quote Tommy Boy? Because it's we make brake pads.
Wow.
I had to go there, man.
Yeah, dude, I'm glad
that was awesome.
That was good. Yeah.
But you're right. Why buy
Are you saying I'm Tommy Boy?
No, I'm saying you.
Tom Senior.
You're Tom Senior. You're married. Your wife's Bo Derek.
Wasn't that the guy who stole Tommy's idea? That wasn't Dan Aykroyd.
It was Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, so I'm the bad guy.
Yeah. No, not really. Remember, they became friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know about real life if they were. But no, you're right. the cheap knockoffs, man. They won't last. And typically they're not treated. They're not heat treated. They're not as strong. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible product. I'm saying all they did was copy. They didn't do any of the research and development, no innovation, nothing. Just, I made this. It's exactly what you sell, but at half the price.
Yeah.
Come on. It's ridiculous.
Is there anything else you want to talk about that we forgot, that you really wanted to talk about? You were just
A little shy, maybe.
I'm shy. I'm going to try not to be so introverted at the expo. I'm going to work on that. No, I want to say thank you to all the tool companies, really. Because without them, there would be no expo. Without us all wanting to spend money and buy new tools and see innovation, we wouldn't have a great Mobile Tech Expo. It's different now than what it used to be. Those early years, I mean, the egos, I saw fist fights. It was crazy.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They come and all of a sudden you see, what? Bam! Like, whoa.
One guy I want to have on here, if he gets a message, is Tom Price. I heard a talk that he did. I want to say it was on PDR College, maybe, where he was just talking about some of the history of tools. And that guy's a walking
He knows
library
so much
about the tools. And
I'd like to see him on. I'd like to see that.
yeah, I'd like to. When we started this podcast, we wanted to have the most interesting people we knew, and I think he's got a lot of value that we can document and get recorded, and just like the museum that we're talking about, just to acknowledge the history. I think if we can get some of that on record and documented, just so that we don't forget it as an industry, right? And he seems like he's just got a wealth of knowledge stored up there. I mean, he's just been around it so long. I heard him talk about that Argentinian steel, and it was like
some of this stuff
almost arousing.
When you talk to him, when you talk to him some of his stories, I'm just like, what? Like in person?
Yeah.
It's funny because he's animated about it. You know, and
Well, he's passionate about it.
Of course he is.
And he's knowledgeable about it.
He loves this business.
Yeah, and you combine those, and that's a good conversation, right? Yeah. Someone who's passionate, knowledgeable, and loves it. I mean, I want to hear what that guy has to say. Those are the kind of people we're looking to have on here.
He'd be great.
He'd be great. Yeah.
Agreed. You've got a lot of really good people in this industry that I think you would be happy to have here in person. You know, get them here.
So speaking to,
but they also have got to bring, they got to bring a gift.
Yeah. Well,
they got to outdo your gift.
Well, good luck.
Good luck.
Speaking to the audience now, if you've got somebody who you think should be on this show that you think would be a good fit, we recommend them. We got a link.
You can email the show. You can email the Dent Slayer Podcast at gmail.com, or you can just DM me or Matt.
If you've got any questions about anything we discussed, or you want to contact us, or you want to get a hold of Kevin.
Kevin, what's the best way people can get a hold of you?
My AOL account is I'm just kidding. MySpace, Facebook message, or you can call me. You can text me, shoot me a text.
Or they can just drive by the boat slip, right? And look for church on the back.
Well, there's churches in one spot, and then FBA is in the other. FBA stands for effing badass. The boat's stupid. It's like it's just got a 6-liter in it, and it's a 20.5-foot boat.
Okay,
it's crazy.
Yeah,
but when you drive it, you're like, man, that thing very responsive.
Okay.
But that's the wake surf boat. So, which I still barefoot too.
I wrote down the rules for coming on the boat. Just
no
so you know.
shoes.
I wrote them down.
No red drinks. No colas.
Oh, no red drinks.
No.
Nice.
No. Stay seated. I'll do all the captaining.
Everybody relax.
Everyone just relax, enjoy yourself.
Matt, how can people get a hold of you? What are you on the socials?
Instagram is the Dent Slayer. Facebook, we got Dent Slayer Facebook page. You can get a hold of us there, direct message.
YouTube, Matt Boyette.
YouTube. You can also go to dentslayer.com, and there's a couple links to contact through there. But email through. We just created a new email for the show specifically. If people want to recommend a visitor or a guest that comes on, or they got any questions they want to ask us, or whatever, just a way to get in contact with us through that.
You can listen to this if you're watching this and you want to listen to it. You can listen to it on Spotify or any of the podcast platforms, or if you're listening to it, you can watch it on YouTube, the Dent Slayer Podcast, or Facebook, Dent Slayer. And then if you want to look me up, I am Dent Repair Jax on Instagram and Facebook, and YouTube, Dent Repair Jax.
And shesmooth.com.
Smooth.
Dang, man, you better buy that right now.
I better go. I think that's. I don't want to.
Maybe you don't want to go.
I don't want to go there.
My bad.
I'll ask Kevin to go look for me. Check it out. Let me know. It's clear.
You'll be fine.
All right.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate your time.
Man.
Appreciate you
guys.
coming
brother.
here and
Awesome.
being our first guest, man. It was awesome.
I'm happy to be here. Trust me.
Yeah.
We came up. I'm like, I'm excited.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. Plus, I mean, I love and respect you guys too. So there's that.
Well, thank you for all you do for the community. Thank you for what you do for Mobile Tech Expo and the PDR Expo. And if you haven't attended, please attend one of those. If you're a technician, you're truly missing out. And come peek under the hood and see what this industry is all about, and shake some hands of Kevin and some other tool makers and technicians, and be a part of that. And make sure you go to the DBAP party on Saturday.
Friday
Friday, and get
right outside on the lawn at the expo.
There we go.
Like the expo,
Where the awards were last time, or the other
the
lawn?
other one.
The other lawn.
I believe it's on that one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where the first awards were, Toolmaker of the Year.
Yeah.
Toolmaker of the year.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell him your idea for a toolmaker of the year?
We already did. We already
know
did.
it. I love
What'd
it.
you think?
I love it.
It's pretty. Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. We'll see.
All right.
I think I'm going to carry that over to the Food Truck Expo, too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You guys have to make... never mind. I'll let you... Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Whoever tuned in, and obviously thank you, Kevin, for coming.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
See y'all next time.
Later.
See ya.
The Dent Slayer, Matt Boyette. Thank you so much for being here.
She's smooth.